right, we got Roger Reaves in today. Thank you very much. Worked with Pablo Escobar. Got 80 holes in a plane from an AK-47. All kinds of tortured. 33 years in prison. And the most of all, your wife stuck by you the whole time. Thank you for coming in. Really appreciate it.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So the first thing is that's so amazing. You're hiking 12 miles at your age?
Up a mountain. 4,000 feet up. Yeah, a rocky cliff.
How do you do that? Like, how do you train to be able to hike 12 miles?
Well, in prison, I ran. And I ran almost every day. And I was down in Australia, and I was serving a life sentence. So they let us out on the Oval 2 hours by ourselves to be, it was just one of the good things that you got for being a lifer. And so I'd run. I'd sometimes run at least 3 miles a day and 5 miles every other day. And then once a week, I'd run a half a marathon. And people say, "Why do you run so, Roger?" And I said, "It helps me suffer these fools." And that was the truth. So it put me in good shape.
And you had plenty of time to practice, right?
Yeah.
Or build up your endurance.
Yeah.
So before people, think whatever about, your past and everything else, I've watched you. And a lot of people say, "Hey, Roger, would you do it all again?" And you say, "No way." And everybody says that gets in trouble. But I truly believe you. I don't think you would. Too much time away from your family. We were talking about your wife before we came on. I truly believe you.
I wouldn't have, and I would have never done it either if I'd known I was going to have to serve that kind of time. But I was weighing the odds, and the maximum was 5 years. And let me just tell you what I went. I hauled a load across, and I got $10,000 my first load. And I was on the fire department, and I had a little airplane. I was working in framing and driving nails and making some money. Bought a little Cessna 182, and so I'd go down to Mexico fishing. I like to fish. Took my wife down there and children. Somebody said, "Why don't you bring some pot back?" I said, "I don't know. I never thought about it. What would he pay?" And he said, "I'll find out." And so guy come and says, "You got an airplane? You'd fly some pot back?" I said, "I don't know. What would you pay?" He said, "I'll pay you $10,000.
And what year is this?
1983. No, excuse me, 1973.
So that 10,000 now would be like maybe 50, right?
Well, you could buy a house anywhere in California for $30,000. You needed $3,000 down. So I could buy 3 houses that's worth $6 million now.
I understand.
But I'll tell you the rest of that story. So I was a little dubious about it. My wife put her hands over her mouth like, "Oh, my goodness, all that money on the table at one time on the bed." The baby grabbed some $100 bills and was crawling around. We just had a big laugh, and there was nothing to it. So I went to see a lawyer, and I threw the $100 down, and he's a criminal lawyer. I said, "Mr. Lawyer, what would happen if I got caught bringing some marijuana across the border from Mexico?" He said, "What's your criminal history?" I said, "I've never had a speeding ticket. Nothing." He said, "You work on the fire department?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You're going to get probation if you do. But the worst, you'd get a year and you'd spend 4 months raking leaves in a military base." Thank you. And so I went and bought me a bigger plane. Now I can make $40,000 a day. So I had my mama come out.
Because Roger, you're like, "Mr. Lawyer, is that so?" Okay.
You got that right. So my mama come out. My mama was sport. She's a hard-working woman, raised us 7 young'uns. And I took her to Disneyland, my new Cadillac, my baby sister. And my sister was only 6 weeks old when my daddy died, and I was 17. So I stayed with my mother on that farm a long time. And me and her were close. So she said, "What you doing, boy?" I said, "I'm hauling pot." She said, "How much you making?" I said, "I'm making $40,000 anytime I want to go down there." And she said, "What will they do if they catch you?" And I told her what the lawyer said, and I said, "What do you think, Ma?" She said, "Do you need a co-pilot, son?" So that's just how it started. So easy, like never dreaming that I was going to be a criminal in prison for 33 years.
Especially being that you're from Georgia, right? So you would never think your life would go to where it went. I mean, you're from Georgia making moonshine.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started making moonshine?
Not 23 years old.
22. How do you actually make it? I saw the dumb show, but I know they're all scripted.
Well, it's a mighty simple thing.
I remember my first experience with it, and I did not respect it. That's about all I can say.
I had pots about as big as this room, 4 foot deep. And I believe I put 18 I forgot how many, 18,000 gallons in there. And you put 60 bales of sugar, and we put 400 pounds of wheat shorts because it floats. And then you use, I believe, 15 pounds of yeast, and you put it in there. And you put a pipe on it with holes, and you hook it to butane bottles and start heating it up, and just slowly heat it up into enough to melt the sugar, but you can't get it hot enough to kill the yeast.
Because it's not just this like simple process like everybody thinks, right?
It's just simpler than you think.
Yeah, okay. All right.
It's absolutely beyond simple. Anyhow, we had a truck tire. The top of it was cut, a truck rim, big ones, so that something would fit over it, and the rest of it was just that rough metal. And you let that stuff ferment, and it boils, and it just bubbles, and foam gets on top of it. And then you come down there one day, and all the foam's just about gone, little pieces floating. And like the old man said that was helping me, I got his picture in my pocket, in my phone here. He said, you stick your hand down in it, your arm down, and when you pull it out, you put your hand on your arm like that. And if the hair stick to it, you still got some sugar in it. You let it stay another day. Were
you hammered after that went into your pores, putting your hand in there? I would think like putting your hand in the moonshine, like the alcohol.
No, it's the brew. It's the beer that you put in. It's almost like it's just a raw beer.
Oh, okay.
And you put your hand down in it, but if it's got sugar in it, you don't want to waste your sugar.
Oh, okay.
So you put your hair, if it's hands in it, to the next day or whatever, it's going to the temperature of the water. Your hand comes away clear from the hair. All right, all the sugar's gone. Now it's time to run. So you put the fire under it, and put 3 of those big. They're 220 pounds apiece. Those big butane bottles. I had 200 of them.
Oh, God.
And so you start putting the fire in, and they will ice up about halfway down, and you have to have a manifold there just to keep changing them so the fire keeps under it. And then when alcohol gets 80 degrees, well, you put a condenser on it, a big old thing, 12 feet long, and a big pipe. And you got all these little pipes going, and you got water from the stream going through it, pumping. You got the pump's what you got to keep quiet because it makes noise. So you got it in a 55-gallon drum with water and gravel, and you run the exhaust down through that. So all you can hear is the lifters in the pump, click, 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 click. So you can hear that a long way in the woods. So you run that, and at first off, it's just pure alcohol. I mean, I guess it's poison. It's just it's got beads on it, big old bubbles that big, and then you keep running it higher and higher temperature as the day goes on. And the pot that I had, it had 4 of them, but each one of them would go until I knew you'd get 250 gallons out of it. And you keep on running, and you have to get the temperature higher and higher. And like the old man said, you're running low wine now, Roger. You're running low wine, and you mix that with the first run until you get about a 50% alcohol called 100 proof, and that's what you want. And you shake it in a bottle, and you want the BBs, you want the bubbles in it to be the size of BBs. And when they slowly come up, you know you got it right. And just
interesting.
That's how you make moonshine.
And back then, how was it sold? How much did he sell for?
It would sell for $4. I got $3.50, and I give the guy that sold it for me 50 cents.
That was good then, though.
1,000 gallons. Listen, I was losing the farm. And that Purina company had talked us into. I don't want to say they talked us into it, but they promoted the chicken business. Well, I put in laying chickens, 36,000. Excuse me. And pretty soon there was 20 million laying hens within 20 miles of my house.
Oh, my God.
So the price of eggs went down, the price of feed went up. You'd send a whole container full of them to New York, a semi, and they'd all be condemned as B grade. Like,
get out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. There wasn't a good egg in that whole thing. So it was lose the farm or do something.
Yeah. So you had to do something. So you did what you did.
Yes,
you know?
Right.
So before we get into everything with you, I want your opinion on a couple things that I think are really important from you. One, the Trump raid. Am I right that because that search warrant didn't have specific areas, it was just basically go look for this? Like they didn't say go to the bedroom, go to the basement, go to here. Doesn't the search warrant have to say where you're going to search? You can't just have a search warrant and you just raid somebody's house and just go everywhere.
I don't know where we're supposed to or not, but they certainly do. They come in my house and chop the paneling up, took it out, knocked the sheetrock off the walls.
But now, do you think he'll beat that? In your opinion, do you think he'll beat that?
Of course he'll beat that.
He got that. They gave him the master, right?
Well, listen, it's just political. So, I mean, it's according to who's in office.
Yeah.
And that thing can drag on for a long time.
Oh, yeah, you can continue that forever, right?
He may fool them all.
He might. He might. Second thing, as a pilot of your expertise, do you think these things that we see that they're saying are UFOs, do you think they're UFOs or do you think they're drones from the military? And if drones from a military, do you think not ours?
I think they're something from another world myself.
You do?
Almost positive. My daddy saw something. He don't lie. I mean, never in his life. My best friend was waiting on me out on a Texas ranch and way down in a valley. And I'd had some trouble down in Columbia, and I was 2 or 3 days getting back. And he said that one came in there and just shined on the cows and just a bright light. And he said then faster than lightning, just absolutely about a mile away, it was over some deer. And then it moved over. He said nothing on earth could have lived in there to move that fast.
The G-force would smash them.
Yeah, it's impossible. Now, I don't know. I certainly believe that we have, I mean, I know, just look at the night sky and the billions and billions and billions of stars and tell us that we're the only ones out here.
Get out of here.
Yes, and
I'm just wondering if they're lying, if they're, deflecting, because all of a sudden now UFO. Why all of a sudden now? So that's what made me lean toward their drones, like China drones, and they don't want anybody to think that. So what better way to deflect than say, oh, hey, UFOs. That's what I've been going back and forth, and then what the CIA guys say, and then what other fighter jet pilots say. So I really wanted to ask you because, shit, as low as you've flown and didn't die, pretty much about the air and what's up there. This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels have dropped substantially since the 1980s at about an average of 1% per year. Think about how old your father was when he was born. For example, if he was 30, your testosterone levels could be 30% lower than his. Low testosterone levels can have all type of health effects on men. It can affect your mood, sex drive, memory, muscle mass loss, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but it can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next-day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS Media and get 25% off your test using the code MSCS Media. The link is in the description at the top.
Well, what if the Antichrist is getting the world ready for a rapture? And he's saying they were just taken up by the aliens. They said they're going to be a big LITO when that happens.
You never know.
That's right. Certainly could be an idea.
In my opinion, I think China's going to raid Taiwan right before the 2024 election. And I think if Biden sanctions them, I think China cuts us off. Because they've been waiting forever to do this. This is the guy to do it with. And I think they'll cut us off. They don't care. They don't care about their economy. They just want to be world leaders. And if they do that, what do we have? What's your opinion on that? Because they're gonna raid Taiwan while he's in there, right?
I just don't know. I really hope not. I mean, so my hope is, but I'll tell you what's going to happen. I read the Bible. I read it many times. I read it twice in Spanish.
I bet you did.
And if you want to see what's going to happen in the future, just go to Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, and it tells of a nuclear war straight out, and how they come down. Russia comes down with its other hordes, or with Iran and the North African nations. It names a bunch of them, and how that they come down, and how that they are stopped, and how that that Israel doesn't have to burn any fuel, any wood for 7 years. They're going to use the fuel from the come down, what could be small nuclear reactors, and that they're going to put markers out by the dead, and people are going to go out, and when they see a bone, they will put a flag by it, and then special people go bury that bone. Well,
you know what, Roger? That is no longer unbelievable. Just open your eyes, right?
Somebody saw it 2,700 years ago. Yes, those things are. I have visions, and they come true, and Ezekiel certainly did too.
I mean, one thing after another, that the shit's coming true.
Yeah.
You know, what I thought was really cool about you, and then I want to get into everything. You saved the baby deer.
Yeah.
You saved the fucking baby deer. What were you in Alaska?
Yeah, Alaska.
And then what, you brought it back to, where'd you bring it back?
I'll have to tell that whole story. That's just too good to just say just a little bit.
All right.
I had a salmon trawler, and I was about 40 miles southwest of Sitka, Alaska, and I was into some big ones. And the little boy's voice came on the radio crying, and terrible, my daddy, the boat's blown up, oh, and blood's coming out of his ears, his legs crossed, oh, help me. Well, pretty soon the Coast Guard's flying, and we all looking for a burning boat or something. And so I see what I believe is I'm in the fish wheel, where I'm right in the back down low, and I see the bow of that boat, and I'm running across it, and I jump out of the fish wheel and go up to take the boat out of gear so it won't tear my propeller up on the bow So, but I see my mistake. It's a giant blue whale surfacing under my boat.
Oh,
Not good.
They grow up to 90 feet long, the largest things on earth. Well, he blew his nasty breath all over me. My wife shut the door. And then the cables and all caught into him, and he sounded, and that boat went up on its back end, and the stern went under. It looked like a cork going backwards. Anyhow, he took everything on that deck, everything, all the gurneys and the cables was gone. Well, we had a load of diesel left, and we said, well, we out of business. And the cries of the little boy were a hoax. But so we went and said, all right, let's just have a vacation. We had a little girl with us, 5 years old, Maria. And we left her with some people in town. They had another little girl. And we went looking for glass balls. For thousands of years, the Orientals have had glass blowers on their boats. And they floated their nets with balls, this big and that big and that big. And they 70 million square miles of the Pacific Ocean. And those balls are circling round and round out there endlessly.
And how old are they?
Some of them are thousands of years old.
Yeah, right. I read that.
And
Like, I'm into like these clocks. Like the wood on here is 800 years old.
Yeah.
Not like that, but you know.
We
But I'm
don't
into
know
that
how
vintage shit. Yeah.
So it's you can't tell how old they are. But anyway, in the winters, in those big storms, they get washed behind some of the driftwood and logs. So it became our hobby to go. We got another little boat, and we'd go ashore, anchor offshore, and Mari would take a 30-06, and I'd take a 44 Magnum, and we'd walk one way, and I'd walk the other. And I came up to the end of the beach, and was looking in the scrub, and a deer ran out right close to me there, and right behind her was a grizzly.
Ooh.
And he knocked her down in the edge of the water and killed her, broke her neck. And I just looked at it. I know what happens all the time. And I just shot in the air. No grizzly looked at me, and and then he loped on off back into the woods, or walked off really. And I walked on up there leisurely to see the deer that was killed. And I thought, oh my goodness, there sticking out the back of her was a little nose with little hairs sticking out. Oh my, she was giving birth. So it was just okay. So I had a razor sharp salmon knife, and I drug her up on the sand and give her cesarean. Took that little fella out.
Wow, that's a story.
That's cool, man.
Put her down, I cleaned him all up and put him down my coat sleeve. Took it off, and I took it back to my wife. She said, "What'd you shoot?" I shot a grizzly. I said, "Put your hand down there." She said, "I'm about to put my hand down there." So we took the little fella and put him on the boat in a box. He wouldn't do anything. So we had milk, canned milk. He wouldn't even do nothing. Just run down his cheek, just zero. So we went on back to town, and to Sitka and our daughter, we called on the radio, and she was there waiting with the people. And she picked that little deer up and grabbed him, and he grabbed her by the ear and went to sucking. And we put her dollar bottle behind it and just kept filling it up with milk until the little fella's stomach had swelled up, and she was just covered in milk down her face. And we raised that little deer on the boat.
How cool was that to watch?
Oh, it was just wonderful. And so we stayed up there another couple of months, and the deer got pretty big in that night. But so we wanted to take him home, of course. We named him Flag from the yearling. So I bought a big old shopping bag with a zipper in the top, and we put Flag in it, and we got on Alaska Airlines and flying down towards Seattle, and Flag went going, people looking around.
Like, what the fuck is this?
Oh,
So my wife had 2 bottles, and she asked the stewardess, "Would you please heat these up? Where's the baby?" So she said, so I unzipped the bag, and that Flag's head come up all spotted. Oh my God. And then here come the co-pilot and the other steward. And so the pilot says, "Sir, would you just mind waiting a little while when Seattle, my wife, I've smuggled everything on this airplane, but never a deer." So we kept him in the backyard, and when he got pretty big, he got to jumping really high, just like a spring buck, and come down. I was afraid he'd hurt our child. So we took him and gave him to some people in Apple Valley that had a horse ranch, and they put him in a big pen.
Where he had all the room
wall
to run around and jump. Yeah, very cool.
So we went to visit him. He had antlers just like out there. Oh, beautiful stag. So they called and says, "Roger, I'm sorry, but some dogs scared Flag, and he jumped that 8-foot fence and got away." Well, I said, "All right, he's back in the wild." So then a few months later, we saw a picture in the newspaper that a strange deer that never seen in California was in Angeles National Park nuzzling tourists.
Oh my God.
And they took him and put him in a petting zoo, and he lived out his life as a petting.
That's cool.
Cool, very cool.
So that's the story of Flag.
Hell of a story of Flag,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
How cool was that?
That's just wonderful. Yeah, we got lots of pictures of Flag.
Now, when you decided to write your book, you were in Australia,
Yes.
prison, right? That's when you wrote this. Now, did you have any concern about putting this out, getting killed by anybody?
No, I don't have any trouble with anybody. Nothing. No.
I heard you say that before and explain it, because when you did something, you knew that you were going to do the job right, and had you gotten in trouble, you weren't going to say a word.
That's
so
right.
what was there to worry about?
I'm their hero. I can come back and go to work again.
If you wanted to, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, I can understand that.
Yeah.
And then you just got sick of it. But how does a guy from Georgia making moonshine, how does that turn into the first stage of the marijuana business? Okay, so 23, you're making moonshine, you're doing that. When does the marijuana start?
When I'm 30.
Okay.
Yeah, I was out there. I went broke. I mean, finally, I went completely broke. They blew up the liquor still, and they put the dogs on me and shot at me. I shot 48 times. There was 8 of them shot, emptied their pistols at me. Yeah, I'm just a lad running through the pine trees, and they knocking the chunks off.
Over moonshine?
Over moonshine. They will shoot and kill you. While across the river in Florida, it's completely legal. It's insane.
Well, just like the marijuana. I got friends doing 10 years for it still, 15 years, and you could walk in and buy it.
I got 35.
Well, there you go. Yeah, because I was actually, that's right.
30 for the marijuana and 5 because I didn't pay the taxes.
Which you could walk in and buy in half the states recreational, and the other half it's medical. What the?
When I got out of prison, I was just coming down the road, and there's a huge billboard. It just says, "Relax. We deliver your marijuana to your house." So I got under it, went down
Think
to
you're
Briars.
hallucinating?
I got down under Briars. I said, "Let's looky here. I just did 33 years. And the first sign I see, well, I put it on TikTok, and I got 4.1 million views that night, and they took it down."
Of course they did, right? Well, at least you no longer carry guns because you probably would have shot the sign down. Pull up tab 2. So we get the book on Amazon, right?
Yes.
And we have it in Audible, and it's a very good book, very detailed, a lot. Kindle, audiobook, paperback, and all this will be in the description. Rob, you want to read the description there?
Yep. Roger Reaves grew up a poor farm boy in Georgia and went from making moonshine to becoming one of the most prolific smugglers of the 20th century. He covered 6 continents, transporting 20-ton shiploads of hash, tons of cocaine, and completed more than 100 sorties across the U.S. border with plane loads of marijuana. His friends and associates spanned the globe from Medellin Cartel, kingpins Jorge Ochoa and Pablo Escobar to Mr. Nice, Howard Marks, and the infamous Barry Seal, who was Roger's close friend and employee. He escaped from prison on 5 separate occasions. Damn. It was shot down in both Mexico and Colombia and tortured almost to death in a Mexican prison. Despite it all, Roger still has a twinkle in his eyes as he recounts his life story, and you probably never heard of him until now.
Just kidding.
Wow. That's it? Just, shot down. Okay.
Get the book. It's great.
Yeah.
Especially,
Thank you.
I love how you bring up the Clintons in there. You know, a lot of people are afraid, I guess, to bring that up and all that situation and a lot of other stuff. So we'll get to Clinton and everything else. So how does it go from the moonshine to the marijuana and then a pilot? Like in
Okay.
steps to see how you got to where you're at. I'm very interested.
Well, I learned to fly. I read a book called Jungle Pilot, and I went to Sunday school. I had a 5-year pen, and I thought, boy, I would love to do that. I wasn't a preacher, but I'm a Christian, and I'd fly those missionaries in and out and the sick people of the jungle, and I just love that for a lifetime. So I learned to fly to be a missionary aviation fellowship pilot.
Interesting. So that was the initial reason why you went to be a pilot.
That's right.
Wow.
So you'll see that I could jump ahead and tell a story that would finish that part. Would you like me?
Sure.
It's jumping out of order.
Yeah.
Well, I was down over the Amazon, and I got intercepted by Colombian jets, and they riddled my plane in the 20 counting millimeters up and down. Anyway, I put it down and bogged it down and left it standing straight up on its nose.
Is that when you went 400 miles an hour and then you had to
No,
dive?
that was when I was on fire one time.
Oh, that was another time. So we'll get to that, Rob. Don't worry.
All right. Wow.
That's just one.
So anyway, this one, 2 Colombian jets on me, and so that's the first chapter in my book. Is about about being. I didn't really get shot down, but I got shot up, and I put it down. And anyhow, it bogged down. I thought it was going to stop, and when it went to stop, and it came in and just the whole nose fell in and came in on me and fell in between the seats, and the engines held it up, and the hot fuel flying over on them engines, and now the hatch on a DC-3. It's a big plane with a 105-foot wingspan. Now it's right ahead, and so I just stepped out with my bag. And the other fellows got out too. And anyway, we went off, and I tell quite a story of how we go down the river, and we really kidnap a riverboat guy with a boat and all that, and go down. But then we get a Jeep after a couple of days, and he's coming, and he says, "You get your passports and everything ready because there's a roadblock down here. This is the FARC area." And so I said, no, we can't go through that. Let's get out and walk, fellas. We're going to get, no, they're tired. And so they went on through the road, and they spent 5 years in prison down there for violating that airspace. But I went through the jungle for 11 days, dug out canoes, swim the rivers, whatever I could do. I'm not going there. I said, I'll eat snakes in here for a year before I go down the road. But
you see anything crazy in that jungle? Anything that just was nuts?
No, it was just mosquitoes and bugs just eat me alive.
Bit to death, right?
Yeah. So I kept asking the Indian, "Donde está avión? Where's airplanes?" I was going to somebody's got to
have an airplane right somewhere.
That's the only way I'm going to get out of here, I reckon. So they kept saying Loma Linda, Loma Linda. Where is it? It's Lejos, far. And so I guess I finally came to it, and it was a pretty place. It looked like Hawaii in World War II. Shiplap buildings, white, thatched roof, and what is that? And a clay strip with several airplanes and a tower that could talk to them. So I went up to the place. Hello, and how did you get here? What? My name is Katie Sue, and the nicest lady you ever saw. And
I bet you had the Kool-Aid smile when you saw her, right?
I just like, what is this place? And she said, oh, you don't know? This is Loma Linda, headquarters for the Missionary Aviation Fellowship for the Amazon. And I got in the plane the next morning with an old missionary from Canada, and they flew me out. So God taps you on the shoulders the whole time in some ways, you know.
You got lucky a lot.
Yes, sir.
So now you're flying. You're flying weed, and the first haul was what, 2,500 pounds? Or something?
No, I haul like 300 or 400 pounds in that for the first couple of loads, and then I bought a large airplane, a Cessna 207, and that would carry 1,100 pounds, and I made $40,000.
Never any issues then?
Pardon?
Any issues with that plane?
Yeah, I'll tell you in just a minute. But anyway, I was going to make $300,000 and move back to the farm and regroup.
Fix it up, right?
So I made $300,000 so fast. The ink wasn't dry. Anyhow, my wife says, Roger, you don't remember like I do. You don't remember those rattlesnakes and the ticks and the fleas and the bugs and the dogs. And the crocodiles.
She's like, hello, McFly.
I said, I can remember all that. We've, living out there and like that. So anyhow, she put her spurs in the ground, and I think if she would have wanted to go back, I didn't make it, but it was the idea. So on that 207, what a nice plane. That thing had big old tires on it, and I would land every day at a place called Pichilingue, just north of Mazatlan in Sinaloa, where the Sinaloa Cartel is now. But that was before all that. This was 1973. And I would land on a bend of a little river. The river wasn't much of a river, but it was knee-deep and, 50 feet across or something. But it was rippling. There was a little waterfall up in front. And it was a kind of in the bend. I think it was 900 feet from water to water where you come across there.
Sounds like a safe landing.
Well, you had to get it down and get stopped. And I carried water with me, and Mari would buy toys and food and apples and all kind of little goodies and stuff for the children. And so I would come back there and land, and the children would come, and I'd pass out the boxes and they liked those red apples. They'd never seen that. And little stuff would go toys there for us, and just a lot of little poor children. They were really poverty-stricken. Yeah. Donkeys were starving. It just looked like that.
Looked like hell.
That hairy man was just starving them all. And so every week there's more and more children.
They know Santa Claus is coming.
Exactly, this American Santa Claus is coming. So my name was spreading, is what I'm saying.
I follow.
So I got a fellow, and he says, listen, I was paying him $5,000 to land at his strip there at Palm Springs. He said, I will fly the northern end. If you'll fly the southern, we'll just do a load every day. I said, all right, that suits me. So I didn't mind Mexico. I was scared to cross the border. And he just do it right in the daytime. He wasn't afraid of that. He was bulletproof. So he'd bring me something to eat and the fuel and the money to go back, and I'd go buy it. And on day 13, I had that little thing going off in their stomach like, don't do it, don't do it. Don't
the instinct, huh?
I think it's more than that. It's an alarm clock.
It's an alarm. Yeah.
Now I know what it is. Back then, I was just kind of testing it. Well, the next morning we went down to the river. I brushed my teeth with several men, put my bag in the plane, and there was a young man there, about 20 years old. He might have weighed 120 pounds, and they put him in the plane, and then he would go out and 20, 30 miles away on a highway, and the village people would have a truck, and they'd come out and block the highway, and then down about a mile they'd block it again, and they had their guns on the truck, and I would land right over the one, and then they'd come up and fill the plane up with the marijuana, and then I'd take off over the other one. I'd shake hands with all of them. I took my time, no hurry. And one time I saw a highway patrolman sitting right in that line of cars. He didn't have his light on. So it was fun. I mean, it was just beautiful. It was just like, oh, you just can't imagine in those cactus in the desert out there doing that. So anyhow, that morning we got in the plane and I fired it. I was about halfway down the strip because I usually just, as I warm up, I go back to the other end and take off and it gets warmed up. Well, just as I fired that thing up, pow! I looked, the tire blew out.
It did?
I thought a tire blew out.
Yeah.
The pop was like that.
It was one of two things, right?
Pedro was bumping me. Policia, policia, policia.
What was it, the tire?
Oh, my. And I didn't even take a thing. I just shoved the throttle to the firewall, and off we went with that 400 feet left in front of me, maybe. And it was tearing up that sand as I went. And right at the end of it, I was looking at the airspeed indicator because it'd fly when it got about 40 if it had to, empty like that. So I just pulled it right up on its nose because here was a rock cliff coming up the river there a little ways. And when I pulled it up, they riddled that airplane. I mean, the airspeed indicator was the first thing I noticed. It just disappeared into the dash. And then all the windows were shot out, and the bullets from the right-hand side must have gone right by one top of my head there. One took my kneecap off, and the other one a toe. So, so it went up into the fuel tank, the wings of the fuel tank, and that fuel was just pouring in on me. I couldn't even, I was leaning over to see.
On top of you? The fuel was pouring
pouring in my face, and I'm going, and the propeller's going wide open, and I panicked. The world just stopped and turned yellow, like I know I'm fixing to go into a ball of flames. So, and really, in truth, it's the only time in my life time almost stopped. It's just like I just reached over and turned the electricity off, so I was afraid a spark would come from something, and kill that engine, and I went plummeting down, and I had no control of the yoke of the elevators. But now I thought that they had shot it in two. But now I know that you're standing on your tail on a talk. You don't have any yoke, any control of it. So it looked like it was just turning daylight, and it looked like the rocks as big as this table, and they looked like the shape of turtles back. It looked like the rocks of layers as I was coming slowly down, and the plane hit and the wings came off.
Oh.
And then it bounced, and the next time the nose came off to the firewall, and it just came up under the plane slowly, and we stopped straight up. And I must have got knocked out because Pedro was saying, "Come on, Roger, come on, Roger." And I just undid my seatbelt and stepped off into the water. Well, there's 4 Federales running down that runway, and they still shooting at us. Pow, 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 pow. Well, right up on, I carry a pistol, just not to hurt anybody, but you never know when you want something to eat you out there in that desert, and some bad fellow might try to rob you or something.
Sure.
So I just had it for protection, such as. So anyhow, now that thing, when the airplane is peeled open, that pistol, 9mm Browning, I liked him because my finger's short there. It won't reach the on them big pistols.
This episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water. It's Fiji water.
But I can shoot that one a good. So it's just right there in the holster, and I just pulled it out, and I didn't try to shoot him. I just pop, 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 pop. And boy, they ran into rocks. I didn't see them anymore.
And then you ran?
Well, we took off and hobbled, and I saw Pedro's foot was almost shot off. Through his ankle, one of them, maybe the same one hit my toe, come in and just exploded all that out.
Oof.
And it wasn't even bleeding. It was in shock. He just
Total
might.
shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I wanted to go on down the path, and no, Roger, let's go up. We got to go up. The Federales have come. They're going to go that way. So we went up the mountain, and in a little ways, it was just all in cactus and briars and stuff. There was an old gray donkey. She must have been 30 years old, sway back, long hair. And Charlotte, and he pets her and hops on that donkey, and I get on him, boy, we go boogieing down the road.
Really?
Yeah. And we ride for a couple hours. Oh, yes. I might ought to cut that story short, but anyhow, we get out of there.
Oh, it got a little interesting, huh?
Oh, yes. But it's all right. We made it.
That's
and
all
he
good.
lived, and I got out, too.
Now, tell me about the time when you were hauling a load from, Sinaloa, California.
Uh-huh.
right? That was when it caught on fire, right?
Yes.
And you had to go 400 miles an hour to put it out, go into a dive, and how many miles? You were flying around for 5 hours?
Let me back up and tell the whole story.
Explain that one to me. Yeah.
Well, it was the first. It was the hardest load I ever done, counting getting shot and everything. This was just like unbelievable. Like everything went wrong. About halfway down Baja, right in the middle of it, I had a beautiful strip there. It was a goat ranch, 20 miles to the nearest road. And the mesquite trees grew up, and it was an old runway where they used to haul meat out of there. And the guy had a cheese place, and he had several hundred goats. And I could give him $500, and he'd help me unload the plane, stack the marijuana under the trees. And I'd go to town and get fuel, and they'd wash the plane. I'd take a nap, meet, restaurant. Then late in the afternoon, I'd fly out and get my load and cross the border.
Sounds like a hell of a deal so far.
It's perfect. Anyway, I stopped to see Juan on the way down. It was the first one of the season. Yeah, everything's fine. So then I take off and I have to get really high. I had that plane up nearly 20,000 feet to try to get over some thunderstorms. And I came in at Cabo San Lucas on a dirt strip. There was no road there at the time, or the wood was just being built. And I landed there, and it was at least 120 degrees. And my arms, I remember they were just frozen like ice. And then that heat. And I got to the hotel, and there was a pretty senorita there in a native costume, and she had a great big tray of margaritas, big glasses with the salt around them. Margarita's not something I normally think about, but she handed me one. Well, goodness gracious, that thing was good, and she just handed me another one as soon as that finished.
Probably moonshine.
It was good. It was better than any moonshine. Moonshine don't taste good. So anyway, in came Andy William and his entourage. And that's what it was all about. He had landed behind me and so in a big plane. So they were there, and they invited me to supper with them, and I had a few more of them. And I'm eating supper. Well, I'm not alcoholic. I don't get drunk, but my face on me fell in my plate. I staggered to my room and went to sleep, and at 4 o'clock the alarm went off, and I got in the shower with my clothes on, tried soap. And I said, if I flew for anybody else, I wouldn't fly. And I went, oh my, what a headache. What
the hell did you put in there?
I guess I drank 5 or 6 or 7 of those margaritas, and they probably
they
doubled
were just going
all
down
of them.
like fucking Kool-Aid, right?
They did, and they hit all at once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, my goodness. So, anyway, I stumbled out to the plane, fired it up, and I go over to that hotel. Boom! Early in the morning, I must have woke the whole place up. And I have to go across the Sea of Cortez, all the way across to Sinaloa. And it's bad, not bad weather, but it's lightning and raining. And the lightning just like strobe lights off of those propellers all the way across. It was just eerie.
And tons of turbulence, right?
Yeah, it was just a strobe, and then you could see the electricity just come. They have little wires, like static wires, and it would just run off of them from the wings.
Oh, sure.
Just like, ooh. So I came over, and I lined up on the highway, and this guy, Marco, he was not a nice person. So I landed up. I only had like 6 inches on each side, and I had to keep that big old airplane. I was flying a Beech 18, a twin Beech, and I had to kiss. And so when I put it down on the highway, the wings, they're not high wings, they're low, and it went to hitting the bushes and scrubs. And it just beat the leading wedge. In the tropics, all those weeds and cactus and everything grow. Now I'm just tearing a half a mile of them off. I'm mowing them with my airplane wings.
And those plants are strong as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyhow, what a mess. I turned around, and he overloads me, or puts a ton in there, 2,200 pounds. And I take off, and I'm headed north. And I get up to 2 miles high, 11,000 feet, and I feel a little something in my foot. And I look around, and I look outside, and I look at that left engine, and I see oil running out of it. And I thought, uh-oh, what in the world? Oil running out, black oil? How's it getting out of the engine? Is a line got, broke or something? I figure I'm fixing to have trouble. Then all of a sudden, it just went into an inferno. That thing caught on fire.
Like on fire.
I mean,
yeah,
it burnt the whole paint off of the side of the airplane and all that wing. So I thought, uh-oh. I opened the cowl flaps. I took everything off, and I shut that engine down, and I put it towards the ground. And I mean, there was water down there that I couldn't get to in 2 miles. So that's when I went 400 miles an hour. That plane was about 200 miles an hour, 220 never exceed. I doubled it. And the tails, those twin tails, they will come off. Or the wings will come off going that fast.
Damn.
So I was thinking that the end was very near. And plus that thing was burning, just inferno. It was burning. All the gasoline was in that. Oil was all on fire, hot oil, and it was just coming out. Well, as soon as that oil burned off, and in that dive, the fire blew out. Well, I felt a little better, but then I couldn't pull out. That thing was going so fast until it felt like just rock solid. Then I was thinking, okay, I'll put my gear down. I'm afraid it might tear the gear off. I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So I'm afraid to touch anything, and here I am. But it got, with the other engine off, it got slowed down some, and finally at 1,500 feet, I had it leveled out. So I just went over Guaymas in that mess from Hermosillo to Guaymas in that thing, and I passed right over where they made the Catch-22 film. I started to land there, and I said, I can run there and get in the desert and maybe get away. But I said, for every mile I fly, I'm flying. That's one I won't have to walk or hitchhike. So
what I was shocked about, Roger, was how you're able to fly for 5 hours losing all that fuel.
Well, I'm going to tell you that in just a second.
Yeah.
No, I didn't lose any fuel.
It just burnt.
It's just the oil on that engine.
Oh, just oil.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. So, I got pretty close to the bank, and I own float planes and all that, so I can fly on, landing on water already. It's a big airplane. It weighs, I don't know, 10,000 pounds empty, I believe, 12,000. So I got close to the bank, and I got the right engine wide open, and I put the wingtip just about on the water, and okay, I'll get it close here, and I'll be swim ashore there, and it'll look like a kind of a deep spot. I can sink it. Well, when an airplane gets within one wing length of the water of the land, it has a cushion of air. It's called ground effect. Well, it started flying, and it wouldn't. I mean, with that one engine was holding it up, and the yoke was just shaking, and the horns blowing hard. Well, I'll ride as long as it does, because I was just right down on the water like this, and that wing down, and I had both feet on one pillar, and I rang like this, and I had to pee in my pants.
I was going to say, are you holding your breath the whole entire time?
Well, by the time I got all the way to the end of the Sea of Cortez, I followed the bank all the way and got up, and I followed the Colorado River. I going back south and north. Well, I went all the way across the U.S. border, right on out there towards Yuma, and by that time, it fly a little bit. So,
that's amazing. You were able to follow that. How hard is that? How hard was that in that situation to follow that river?
It wasn't a bit of trouble. You didn't know where else to go.
But I mean, wasn't that hard to follow?
No, not at all.
Well,
that thing's big.
We're talking to a monster here.
So but I'll go and tell the rest of that story. Yeah. So I got with fly a little bit, and so I started following Interstate 8, just above the border, and I was following it back west, and I was right down on it. I thought that the radar couldn't pick me up if I was down on the highway, So I don't know if that's true or not. Back then, that's what I thought. And anyhow, I came over a highway patrolman giving somebody a ticket, and I must have took his cap off, and I'm laughing. That one wing still hanging.
You almost took the patrolman's cap off. You're that low.
Yeah. So anyway, and then I look, and bam, there's an unlit road across there, and that plane almost hit it. It went, I believe it bent it. Bam! It was so close that the ground effect of that bridge scared me to death. So I just said, the heck with it. I pulled it up 200 feet or something, went to flying, and I came out over Brawley and went down over the Salton Sea, went 170 feet below sea level, and flew all the way up, and I got to Palm Springs. And in Palm Springs, I got on Interstate 10 because I had a truck waiting near 29 Palms on a dry lake out there. So when I left Palm Springs, unbeknown to me, after doing it many times, the Highway 10 goes uphill at a pretty good you just don't see it because it's such a long drive. Well, that one engine wouldn't go up. Now I can't climb, and it's come a front end, and it's rain. I mean rain. And it hit me, and here I am right down on that highway, and the semi-trucks are nearly blinding me coming on. And I'm saying, oh boy, I got to fire that other engine up, or I'm gonna put it down one or the other. Ain't no choice. I had to fire up that that bad engine, and when I did, it felt like a rocket. I went up to 6,000 feet, right up in that stormy weather and the rain, and I shut it down. I called my truck man, Jeff, and I said, Jeff, I'm up at 6,000 feet, really bouncing around like a rag doll. One engine's out, been on fire. Where are you? He said, the dry lake is covered in water. I'm bogged down on it, turned the wrong way.
Great.
So I said, where are you? So
you're like, when is this going to end?
Exactly.
Please.
So I said, is any dry? He said, looked like over on the cactus on the east side, it might be no standing water. So I went on in and put it down, just plowed through the sand, wet sand. And I got stopped. He finally got the truck out and took the load and left. And I said, go get my friend Jerry and bring back some tools and some oil. Let's see if we can't get this thing out of here. A pretty nice airplane. So I carried I had a military coat, and I carried 2 fusees, one in each pocket. And I had a gallon of aviation fuel there by the back door, so I could throw it on the load and throw the fusee on it in case I had trouble. But I also had a gallon of water sitting back there. So I took, man, when he left, I was so thirsty from all that. I reached to get that gallon of water, and I got that gallon of
How good was that gallon of water you had?
That gallon of water was gasoline when I turned it up, and I took a big slug.
Oh, good Lord.
Whoa. And you're like just dying for that water. The plane's on fire.
Man,
heat.
I said I was sitting there all night long shitting like a bird dog shitting peach seed.
I bet you were.
Trembling. Whoa. It was awful. Anyhow, that was the worst trip I ever did.
But you survived it, though,
and
right?
got it out of there and got it painted up and did another load.
Now, how in the hell do you end up in Pakistan?
Well, we had that guy, Mark, he said that he had a big contact over in Pakistan to get hashish. Well, the boys, they was hippie, and I was fooling with, and they wanted hashish. They didn't want marijuana. What a idiots. We could have gone to Colombia and made 100 times more. So I was cleaning ships in New Orleans, Russian grain ships that came in there with hydroblasting. And I had a friend, Renee Martin, that had a brand new 85-foot shrimper that he didn't pay the payments on, or something had happened to it and the bank had repossessed it, and as that $60,000 payments was behind. I said, Renee, I could use that thing. He said, all right. So I went and paid it out of the bank of Mobile, and I didn't know nothing about boats. So I got me a course with the Coast Guard of those 8 tracks where you could learn to celestial navigate by the stars.
I remember those.
So I went to work. I was day and night. So we got that boat and took off and went around the world with it and picked up 3.5 tons out of Pakistan, brought it into British Columbia, and I went up into Lake Hood in the wintertime, cut a 206 on floats out of the ice and flew that stuff down into northern Washington.
How was Pakistan when you were there? It's crazy.
I would say it's the only place in the world I've ever seen I'd call a pure shithole.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Just a shithole.
Absolutely. It was shit molecules in the air.
Man.
I didn't want to eat or drink or touch nobody that did.
What is it? Just dirty mess? It just like give me like thinking back, like when you picture it, like.
I went with the guys, and they would go like whatever it was bars. And it would be dirt floors, and underneath the counters of the tables would be holes dug in, little boys almost naked, just laying there sleeping like little dogs, like little puppies. And you come in back in the morning, and you see a bum with the rags on him, and he's got his pants down, and shit just squirting out of his ass, just like a spray. It's just everything was just filthy.
Filthy, nasty, dirty,
absolutely.
run down shit.
It's the only place on earth I've ever said I don't want to go back again. Now I understand up in the northern part of the country it's much nicer, but I didn't go up there. We raced camels across the desert and did some stuff, but I'd get me out of here.
Time to go, right?
That's right.
Now take me through the time. This is really cool, but I want to hear it from you. When you go to do a load and your plane gets shot up 80 times with an AK-47 from maybe 500 yards away?
No, that was the plane that I talked about where I got shot down there.
Oh, that was
the one, yeah.
No,
they were standing on both sides of it. And I went between them on the runway.
Rob, his plane got hit 80 holes, right?
There's 80 bullet holes in there.
From an AK-47.
4 of them.
4 of them?
Yeah.
How far away would you say they were?
10, 15 feet.
Oh, shit.
And just right there. They was just standing on both sides of the runway.
Wow.
They might have been in the rocks. I don't know where they were, but they was there. Like I just won between them.
You should be in the Guinness Book
Most
of
time
World
shot up
Records.
by
Yeah, I got hit 3
so-
times, and the other fellow really got hurt bad, and they killed a guy on the ground.
Damn.
I don't know what he did, but
I don't know how you made it through that.
Yeah, I'm
that
stuck
plane.
at the first plane. How he made it out?
yeah.
First, I mean, we're not even to it. We're still in the 70s.
yeah.
You know what I mean? This episode is sponsored by Aurora. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is? For years, this crime rate has been surging and affecting millions of Americans. I'm talking about identity theft, and there's a new victim every 14 seconds. Yet despite this, those who have had their identities stolen are often shocked when it happens. That's why I'm excited to partner with Aurora, who is sponsoring this video. Aurora is identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all into one easy-to-use app. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. Protect you and your family from America's fastest growing crime. Try Aurora for free for 2 weeks and see if you or anyone in your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial today. Go to aurora.com/MSCS. The link is in the description below. Holy shit. So now, after that, tell me about the botch deal that happened in the U.S., right? There was a botch deal that happened in the U.S. that led to you being almost tortured to death and all kinds of crazy shit.
Okay. Where I was tortured was in Mexico.
In Medellin prison?
Mazatlan,
Yeah.
prison, yes. After I had paid $17,000 for the load when I got shot up, I didn't get. So, yeah.
That's nice.
So I didn't get it. So I went back down there after my 2 or 3 months later. I healed up. I went back down there to get it, and I told this old gentleman, I says, do you want to come down and haul it for me? I don't have a plane anymore. Yeah, I'll come. And I said, well, here's $5,000. Go to that big feedlot just south of Hermosillo. And maybe I don't remember exactly how but that was where I think I could come back, and I gave him $5,000 for the trip back. And I said, stop in Hermosillo and clear customs or clear at the border. That's where you have to do. And then come see me in Mazatlan at I forget the big hotel. And my name's going to be Robert Ardell. So he wrote it down.
Idiot.
Ardell.
Idiot.
So I'm swimming around and
Having a good time.
having a good time, and a gentleman comes over and says, "Are you Mr. Ardell?" And yes, sir. And he shook hands and put the handcuffs on me. So they took me to my room and didn't say nothing. There was 3 of them, all of them dressed nice, and told me to pack my stuff and get on a pair of jeans and a Gauguin shirt and my wallet, and they take me and put me into prison. They stole my suitcase and whatever I had, and there was a convict there that stole the wallet. I mean, I was going to fight with him. He had a blackjack, and I said, no, you can have that $300. And so I expect today I'd have got something, we'd have went with it. But at that time, I was fresh meat. So anyway, they put me in just a room like this with a cage up there. Well, I had no money, nothing, and it was hot. And people stripped down to their undershorts, and they was somehow maybe as many as 18 of us, standing room only. There was an old pillow in there, just looked filthy and slick. You could see the ticking of it, and I thought, ooh. And after about 3 days, somebody left, and I grabbed that thing.
You were the first one to it, right?
Yeah, and then they took me back in the back, and they put me in a little room. I believe it was about 5 foot square, high up in the ceiling with a light stayed on all the time, and it was hot. I remember it was June. And you could hear the dope addicts and stuff coming in there at night, and they'd beat the crap out of them and make them confess. And then once they confessed, they'd go on out, and then the judge would send them to whatever they were. But if you didn't confess, you spend 2 years for minor. And if you didn't confess, you could stay 4 years without any trial or anything for major crimes.
Wow.
So they could have kept me, they're talking about marijuana hauling, for 4 years without anything. So, but what they do, they beat it out of you. So they come and thumped on me some pretty much with the blackjacks and the rubber hoses, and it wasn't all that bad. I can tell you, busted my lip, but I've been in fist fights worse than that, so that wasn't all that much. But you make it, and I was bruised up. And then they put my head underwater, and they had some seltzer water. I don't know what it was, but if you took a whiff of that, I guarantee you'd tear the house down before you take another one.
It was that bad, huh?
That was some kind of waterboard, and they'd hold you by the hair, 3 of them. And so I found out to go just like that before you really had to take a breath. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. So I lived through that, and you don't know how long, because you don't know when they bring you food in, and that's all they did, and they emptied your pot, and you could disinfect the place with like that pig disinfectant smell just like a farm.
Ugh.
And so after being beaten and put in the head stuff, they came and took me out, and I was naked, and they had little things like thing where you stretched out over a barrel. And they buttered my bum.
Yeah.
Oh,
this is not good. This is definitely not good, right?
And they stuffed it full of ground chili pepper, and they show you, and they just put their old big thumb up, they just right up your butt, just putting it up, and oh man, I cussed and cried and carried on. Anyhow, after a while they washed that out, but it ate the colon off of it tore me up in there, and so that was rough. So the last treatment was, and I was really low. They come hung a dead man in the cell, and they had him on a meat hook, and he was looked like a mummy. He was a really black man, and had him all really wrapped. You couldn't see anything, and then they put the other hook on a bolt on the wall, and he sat there like this, and as he thawed out, I could see his liver. He just pulled his shit, so there's a big old liver showing there, but it didn't bother me too bad. I didn't like it.
But they wanted you to see that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
that
to
was
show
good.
you,
Like,
hey,
next.
Look, you're next.
You next, son of a bitch, you next.
Yeah.
So so then his eyes started thawing out, and it looked like he was crying hanging there. And then his private part started thawing out, and it looked like he was peeing. And it's coming out of him, and it puddled on the floor. And the only way I could hardly breathe, that stuff really was some rank. Formaldehyde is a bad thing to get a full dose of. And I put my face under the door with my legs puckered up like that, and I went to sleep. And I had dreams like of pink flying pigs. I said, that's where Walt Disney, he was using that stuff when he started.
Yeah.
So it was something, and I actually woke up in the infirmary from that. And
from breathing that in.
The doctor was concerned. I must have been unconscious for some while there.
Now, how did you escape that then?
Well, they after some time they put me back in general population, and my wife came down and paid money, and I got out.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I tell you, I write a whole chapter on that, and the knives under my throat and all that sort of stuff.
How much you have to pay? Do you know?
Oh, $17,000. The guy that I owed the money had got some people to give it, and they give it to him. But anyhow, she had to see it, negotiate it.
So then, what happens? What's the next thing after that? So your wife gets you out. You pay the $17,000, and then what happens next? Where do you go from there? What journey do you take of men right after that?
Well, my plane's been shot down, and I got a fellow, my friend Jerry Wills. I'll mention him, wonderful fellow. And he said, Roger, got a couple of guys been watching you land down there, and they was one came and brought him to me, and he took me to Wisconsin and bought the plane from the Beach Boys. It's beautiful, beautiful Beach 18.
Oh shit!
And so I started flying with him, and then I bought that out and whatever that. So I started flying Beach, and that's when I was flying instead of 1,000 kilos. Now I'm flying 1,000 kilos instead of 1,000 pounds. I could put 2,200 pounds in that thing. Was one lucky airplane. I mean, back and forth, and it was higher wing because it nose wheel on that one. Oh, it was beautiful, just absolutely.
And what was your first load with that plane?
I don't even remember.
Or like a big load that you ran
I just
with
brought it back across. But at that time, I'll tell you how I made it with 100 loads across the border without getting caught. At that time, they started Operation Starlight, and they had little trucks on every little hill from across the southern border, from Tijuana to Galveston, I reckon.
Wow.
And they was intercepting planes coming across, and they was busting like sometimes 5 planes a week, and the loads and the pilots. So I said, well, I wonder how far they go out in the ocean. So I said, I bet you they don't go 300 miles out watching. So when I'd unload at the middle of the goat ranch, I would be fuel to fuel, and I would go out. There's a good-sized island. It's maybe 20, 30 miles long, called Guadalupe, and I believe it's about 400 miles, or maybe 450 south of San Diego. And I would go out, and it's 200 miles off the coast of Baja, so you're already out 200 miles now when you get there. And then I would turn somewhat northwest off of the northern part of that, and I would go, and I'd be 300 miles off the coast of San Diego when I came up, and I'd put it right down on the deck out there over the ocean late in the afternoon.
What a plane, huh?
Yeah, all of them did. I did it over and over and over. And I would come north until I got behind the Santa Barbara Islands. The Santa Barbara Islands, I guess, are 50, 70 miles long, and they up 2,000 or 3,000 feet. And I'd cable low behind them, and then there's some runways over there. I'd come right over that and come up, go out in the desert and unload. Never had a stitch of problem.
Never.
Never. Just like I was running a bus from here to Tallahassee or whatever, just like a zip.
So now you're doing that, you're doing the wheat. Now, when does it escalate to where Pablo Escobar gets involved? When do you meet him? How do you meet him? You know?
Okay, he was a...
Because I remember reading multiple times, you somehow flew under detection of not only the DEA, but the cartels as well.
No, they knew exactly who I was and who my family was and the whole thing.
But I mean, they didn't catch you.
Pardon?
They didn't catch you. You were avoiding detection, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they liked me. I was their hero. So, hey, I went down. I was I had an old airplane broker, Cameron, and he came with a handsome young fella from Colombia and says, we had a freighter coming up with 65 tons and wanted to know if I'd unload it. And sure, I'll unload it. Well, we need $65,000 to pay for the fuel to come up because the last time it come up and singing song, da-da-da-da-da. I said, sure, I'll give you $65,000. And I knew the old guy pretty good. So anyhow, they took my money and they brought me a nice bottle of wine and that was it. So I went looking for my money. I said, I'll heck with that guy. So I went down and had the guy's business card, Roberto Davila from Bogota. So I went to see him. Oh, man, I give the money to this guy and this and the other. And so
the whole runaround.
Yeah,
right?
So I said, well, you gotta give me something. So we went and met some people over Santa Marta area, and I went and picked out a beautiful load of Santa Marta gold. Put my name on the sacks, and I got, I think, 2,400 pounds. And I went back and got my airplane and flew down, and we had coffee and a little something. I went back out there the next morning, and there was a load of stuff in paper sacks, just little curled, dried up stuff. I started to sweep it out. Good gracious alive. They're the cheatingest folks I've ever seen in my life. Well, I flew it on home, and that stuff smoked good. I mean, the folks went crazy over it. It sold in a day at $300 a pound, so I like $660,000. And the guys came up to get their portion. I said, listen, man, I'll give you your portion. You give me junk. What do you think?
Yeah.
So I give them $10,000 to go away and forget the 65. So, but now I met this fella, and that was a good load, really it was. So I went back, and he says, you got to go see somebody, man. I got to show you Fernando Correo. So we flew from Bogota to Medellin and landed right downtown on those 0707. And that thing looked like it was going to shake apart. I was scared. And we went to a condominium, and that thing was just palatial up at the top. He had all glass all the way around, looking at the mountains and the city. And that guy was like a Winston Churchill. I think he spoke every language you could imagine. He had a big old head, looked like a wart, and he would drink one bottle of scotch right after the other one and just talk to you and just...
Didn't even faze him.
He was drunk, though. So he said he had plenty of work to do. Plenty, and I pay $5,000 a kilo. You got planes. See Marta. So here's Marta, and she was a nice lady and lived out there on the golf course in the gated community. And so they had a party for him for a birthday, and it was over on the coast. I think they had I don't know, 20 miles of the Pacific Ocean coast. And we went over in airline planes, propellers, and there was lots and lots of people come, maybe 300 or 400. And they had little places on stilts for guests to stay in. They had a log house and cooking steers and hogs and goats. And and people came in with the helicopters and the airplanes and shiny. And there was enough stuff pushed over on the side to make millions of dollars. There was airplanes turned up with wasp nest on them where they got newer planes and used those license. And, oh, what a mess. I mean, D8 bulldozers worth $1 million a piece with the just rusting out there.
It's like Disneyland for adults that are into
something.
shit, right?
So what they were doing, they were getting together and trying to make a deal with 10,000 people a year were being killed there. One fellow had 10 or 20 kilos. He gave it to his friend. And, okay, I got a pilot. And, look in New Jersey, 40 kilos, bang, bang. Yeah. And that was going on. So they made a deal. And that's when the Medellin Cartel at that time got started. And I have a story there where a fellow got killed and the blood spattered on me. And,
I read you were on a hammock, right?
I was laying in
just
a hammock.
Relaxing and bam, blood gets spattering and you're like,
I was reading MMK's Far Pavilion. I never did finish that book.
Yeah, he's right. You're just hanging out in a hammock.
I got away by
yourself.
myself.
Boom.
When a guy murdered come around to it, yeah. So anyway, I'd have saved that guy's life if he had let me, but he wouldn't. He got shot in the femoral artery.
Oof.
I could at least put a finger in it.
Yeah, something, right?
Yeah. So that's when they I went on back and I met a fellow there and I did a load, and the person I give it to got shot, and I was 2 or 3 months getting my money, and I just said I ain't never gonna work with those people again. They were bad folks. The guy Bill Barbosa, he lived here. He was lovely, but he just wasn't what I wanted. So I went on back, and my friend Mario says, "All right, I got somebody to introduce you to." So he took me to Envigada, a little town just south of Medellin. And we went into the gate, rose up, and we went into a beautiful house and yard full of people and the fedora hats and hitching rails. That thing was 200 or 300 years old, that old house. And we went in, and I tell folks it was a beautiful woman in there, and she made us a cup of coffee and then ushered us in to see Jorge Ochoa. And Jorge had 12 a big desk like this, and he spoke English, nice-looking young man. And he says, he had 12 telephones on his desk, and all of them a different color, and each one of them from a different city. He said, "This is New York, this is Seattle. Whoever it rings, I know who it is." So
I believe on Les you said he was the brains, right?
He was
the brains of everything.
Yeah, certainly, he just had it.
Yeah,
he
had that.
He was a gentleman,
yeah,
a statesman. He could have been senator or the president if he'd have wanted to be.
Sure.
That kind of look. He was princely, is what I say.
Yeah.
So he asked me what my experience was and what kind of airplanes I had. I had a DC-3, a Beech 18, an Aero Commander turboprop. So he seemed to be pleased with it, and he said, "We got all the work you can do. I pay $5,000 a kilo." And so he said, "I'll bring my compadre." So the pretty girl went next door and brought Pablo Escobar over, and he shook hands, and a guy about my size and plaid shirt and clean. See, just like you and I, just nothing. Just good. He asked the same thing Jorge asked, and he seemed pleased with it. He said, "We got all the work you can do. So pay $5,000 a kilo, and it'll be a week or two before you get paid because we give it to people and they pay us, and
then
we
it
pay
comes back
you.
around.
That's the pipeline." So that was all there was to meeting him, and so I started flying with him. I flew and. Then I went down once, and I don't know why I went to see him, but anyhow I did. The runway was too short and had to make it longer. That thing was like Los Angeles International whenever I went back. It was a mile long.
You hear that, Rob? So Roger had kind of complained that where he was landing was a little bit too short. The next time he comes,
It was long.
the fucking place to land looks like LAX.
They cleared it out.
Cleared the jungle out, man.
Like
it
that.
was long. Yeah.
Now, did you realize then when you saw that, wow, these guys got some
I
juice, or
knew
you
they
already
did too.
that they
I knew
were
I was
already-
taking the money to them. I knew what they were doing.
You knew what they were good.
So I got in the plane with Escobar, and the only time I spent a day with him, and we went to, well, I guess he must have bought a lot of ranches and stuff, and so went to a little farm ranch place. I don't know how big it was, and we got there early in the morning, and they had motorcycles there, little green motorcycles. And he said, "Can you ride a motorcycle?" I said, "Sure, I can ride a motorcycle." "Well, put this Mac 10 or something around your shoulder. Can you shoot that?" "Sure, I can shoot that." So never seen it.
That's the test. That's the test for the job, right?
I'm sure I could shoot it, but I never did know,
Yeah.
Anyhow, they was kind of fooling around with theirs, and they was waiting on me because that thing was pointing right that way in the grass about that deep. And I wouldn't, and I took off, and I had a little ditch there, and it was about that wide and about knee deep. And that front wheel fell in it, and I just went skidding across that grass. And they hollered, laughing like they had said.
Yeah. And you had said many times he was just at that time he was very nice, normal, kind.
Yeah.
He ran the business like Fortune 500 business. There was no betrayal, no nothing. It was ran right.
So I met him a couple of times, but that was all. It just I didn't know him all that well. We knew Jorge and his family. My family stayed out till the weekend on their beautiful place and got to know them people much better.
It's interesting with guys like Pablo Escobar because, like you said, he was a nice guy. Whatever he was doing. But then, when he starts to, murder, not, there's, you kill somebody and you murder somebody. I agree with you. There's a difference. I agree with you. I've heard you say that many times. And then, when you're in that life, with the competition and then people coming after you, you got to be a fierce person. But like you had said many times as well, I don't understand why he shot down that plane with the women in it and everything else.
I don't know anybody. I mean, he's a monster when you do something like that.
Yeah, that's when it's, it's one thing when you're murdering people within the organization because they all know what they signed up for.
You and war, they shooting at each other. That's different. That's not murder. But you go kill somebody. That's not.
Why the hell did he do that?
I don't know, really and truly. Well, I'll tell you. I think that they was three. Colombia was divided in the early '80s into three divisions.
See, you can Google that, Rob. Why Pablo Escobar shot down a plane with a bunch of women? Sorry.
Well, they was the guy that was going to be president, and he was on there, and he was going to extradite everybody.
Oh.
So that's what I want him out, and that's the only way they could get to him. So that was, he killed, I don't know, 100 and something people. Now, I don't want to know anybody like that, and I would vote for his execution if I was on the jury.
Yeah, you don't do shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're crossing the line.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, there was three people. The government, the military, the soldiers. They was shipping. I landed military bases, and the soldiers loaded me more than once.
Oh, no. And the military, they knew about that? Remember
they were doing it.
And it was okay?
They were part of it.
Fucking crazy.
And then and that was Ochoa, and then had the military up at a place Ikindí, right exactly on the border with Panama. Now it's a pretty good sized town. Before that, it was not even a road there, and the road was a runway. I'd go in, and I'd leave one motor running. They'd soldiers put it in there, bam, it was done. So of course they was in it, and in the jungle. I've had the soldiers load me up. So, but they had three different groups: the soldiers, the military, and the white Colombians. We call them the Contras. They were Contra against the communist FARCs. I guess there was another group or two in there too. That I don't remember their names, but the white Colombians, the landowners, it was not jungle landowners. So yes, but the highland owners, they are the ones that I was working with. Now they were fighting each other, and so the FARC was blowing things up too. And now then the government got crossed with the Contras, and their policemen was killing people. They blew up some of Escobar's buildings, and they went to war. So Escobar said, "I'll give $1,000 for every policeman you kill." So, Jeez. Wow, now you got some real trouble.
Now you got some real trouble, right? Time to go.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, he could have got out of it. They built that prison for him if he had behaved himself. I believe he went crazy. I really do. I don't know how crazy he was to start with, but certainly went crazy before it was over with.
Yeah.
Yeah, he became a monster.
Now, where was it with the Black Widow, where you go in and what the housekeeper allows
let me tell that story.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, when I first go see this guy, Fernando, at the top of the
food chain.
Yeah, the top of the overlooking the city and a glassed-in, beautiful place. In sachets, this woman with high cheek Jones, kind of pretty looking woman, and she's dressed in rabbit fur and rabbit fur white boots and this thing all around. And she looks as out of place as she come from Mars. and she's telling she kisses him on his cheeks 2 or 3 times. She's kissing ass. Anyhow, and I was telling Fernando she's on her way to Miami to buy an airplane. Well, this lawyer's over in the side, and he says, Roger has an airplane for sale. Now, he didn't know I did or not, but he sees an opportunity. And, oh, what kind of airplane do you have? She asked me, and I said, I have a Queen Air. Oh, Queen Air? Oh, she likes the idea. I'm going to buy a Queen Air.
She likes the Queen is what she likes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, she said, how much is it? And he's over there just
Up
that price.
Yeah.
Well, they had been really expensive one time, and then the wings burned off for several of them, and then they just dropped to nothing, almost scrap. And I bought 3 of them, and I had them. I had just as a fuel line that was rubbing. Had them fixed, and they was all right. I didn't like them, but they were planes. So anyhow, I sold her the plane. Then I had to go to. So you got to go to Santa Cruz, Bolivia, to get your money. What? All right. So I had a guy to bring the plane down to Panama, and we got her and her entourage in it, and we flew to Santa Cruz. And I landed there, and I guess she'd called ahead because the policemen were there with their limousines and their flags flying. They put her in and opened the door, and this and other, her limousine, I guess. And we got in it, went out edge of town underneath the water tank, Santa Cruz. And the place looked like a mausoleum. It looked like a white square blocked house. I don't even remember any windows. Anyway, it had a big fence around it with wire and gates of her security, and all the people were out there by the gate, and they were crying and wringing their hands. There must have been 10 or 12 of them there, housekeepers. And she got out, what's the matter with you people? And got the gate open. They said, your lion is eating the baby, the maid's baby. So she run in there, and I run right behind her. I don't see this mess. And here's old Tommy. He's eating the baby. He's just a head left and a little bit of diapers and shit, and got blood all over his face, and he just growls at her, and she just grabs him and runs and pushes him in another room, and about made me sick. I just got my money and got on that. She's screaming at those people, get out of here, get out of here. Never want to see your ugly faces again, you stupid, stupid people. Putting a baby in front of a line, and she just went raging.
I bet that's one that doesn't erase your memory. You can't erase that one.
That's the worst sight I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was ugly.
Well, imagine that.
Wow.
Jeez.
You've very interesting so far.
I always say it wrong. So how do I say it? The Medellin Cartel?
Medellin.
I think since I started podcasting, I've become dyslexic.
Okay.
I can't pronounce shit right for some reason.
Just say Gene.
Medellin. I got it now.
That's
Medellin.
close enough.
So the Medellin Cartel, it started with 300 people, right? Roughly, no, give or take.
About 5 people.
Oh, 5 people.
Yeah.
Okay. There's Google for you. Okay. 5.
Oh, well, maybe 300 associated, but those 5 people run it.
Yeah, like 5 people were running it, but total.
Then anybody that wanted to bring their stuff to them, they come and they says, all right, let's stop this bloodshed. We will take your cocaine, 1 kilo or 1,000 kilos. We will take it to Miami and give it to your man, and you pay us $10,000 per kilo. If it gets lost anywhere between the time you give it to us and the time we give it to your contact in Miami, we will replace it.
That way there's no bloodshed.
There's no way, because, people were just lying about it. So they just got inundated. All Colombia come to them. Hey, my cocaine is just as good. Yours there. It's 100%.
Can't lose.
I can't lose on it. So it gets to my brother in Miami. So now they pay me $5,000, and they get $5,000 just for putting it on the airplane, and I give it to their man to tell them it's all in duffel bags, and they all got look like there's markings on steers of brands.
Yeah.
And each one of the duffel bags, I got to learn where some of them was, and yes, that's.
So there was 5, and then the rest were like associates.
Right. Or I guess anybody from Argentina could come there. It doesn't matter.
Well,
you give it to us. Hey, we're an insurance company.
Done. Right.
Done, exactly.
Now, how was that? When that initially, was it running really smooth? Did it stop the bloodshed?
Yes.
Did it work?
It stopped it completely. Except, there were still people that was out of that kind of money. They still going to be amongst themselves on the lesser. But it worked really well for a long time.
Right. And then we have, when you get going, you have Barry Seal, right, who ends up being a turncoat. You, Escobar, and Ochoa. So now, when do you meet Barry Seal?
I met him, I guess, in 81.
81. And then he had a friend of his with him, right? He had a friend.
No, he was by himself.
He was by himself.
That was a kind of nice little story there. I wanted a place halfway between Colombia and the United States, and I kind of thought I might ought to get out of the United States for a while.
Might be a good idea.
It might be with that kind of. And so, okay, I looked in, and I liked Honduras, and I liked the islands out there. And then I got to looking, and there's a place called Lago Azul, and they had an earthquake there, and they found some huge largemouth bass. I mean, some of the biggest in the world. The largest one was caught right near my home in Georgia, Montgomery Lake. I forget how big it was, 25 pounds or something.
My buddy dated a girl from Honduras. She was beautiful.
Lovely people there, yeah. So,
Very nice.
So I took my wife and the children, and we went up into the mountains and looked at a ranch that was for sale. It was really the place. It wasn't a place for a runway, but it was a place to live.
Are there any places you've landed that was a runway? 90% were either fucking highways or lakes.
This is down mountains.
Yeah.
He'll find a way.
Yeah, I'll get it down. So, we decided not to buy it. But anyhow, we got up and got muddy and all. So we came back to San Pedro Sula and put our clothes in the cleaners. And then we went and got our tickets to go back to New Orleans. And so I went that afternoon or the next afternoon to get our clothes. And, oh, senor, they're not ready. They'll be ready in the morning. So I went back early and told my wife, now listen, y'all get on that airplane because 3 of you is a lot easier to go home than I can get by standby a lot easier. So if I don't make it back. So anyway, I went and got the clothes, and the traffic was bad, and I had an old taxi, and I said, give him $100 to drive faster, and he just blew the horn faster. Beep, beep, beep. Anyway, so when I got to the runway, the plane was taxiing out, and I ran around the corner, and I had all those clothes and the plastic bags on my bag, and I waved to the captain of the 727, looked like a brand new one. And he just waved back. He's just going slow around on the thing. And then I saw my wife's face in the cockpit.
Oh, shit.
She's talking to him, and the nose goes down where he puts on the brake, and he laughs, and he puts the stair out. And I run for the stair, and he's like a hitchhiker. He takes off again, pulls it back up. And he's cackling with her in the plane. Then he stops and puts it in. I get on, and the whole plane claps for me. I got all right. The hitchhiker got on.
Oh, shit.
I going back about halfway, and my daughter, Miriam, she's about 9, and she's sitting in the middle seat, and I sit down on the seat, and I look at this guy, and again, another princely fella, clear blue eyes, look like, okay, you're CIA or DEA or FBI or something. You ain't supposed to be sitting right there side of me.
You're kind of the neon pencil here out of the box, right?
So you ain't they put you there for me, and then I said, well, there's no select seatings here, so it's random. So the plane took off, and the wheels come up with a thud, and he got up about 5,000 feet, and it had a little click click. And Miriam said, what was that, Dad? And I said, he just turned on his autopilot. And he got ring. You fly these things? I said, I got a few hours, mister. I do too. My name's Barry Seal. And so we shook. And he told me that he just got out of prison that morning. And I said, you want me to talk? And so we chatted and talked airplanes all the way to New Orleans, and we was buddies, but I didn't believe him one smidgen. So when we got off, though, there was a bunch of people. There were 10 or 15 people or more. And there was an old grandma there, and there was a mama, and there was wives and young'uns, and they was hanging on him and kissing and then crying. And
he was like God gift on earth at that moment. Who is this guy? Right?
I said, he's telling the truth. He did just get out of prison this morning. He's been gone a year.
Yeah.
So when all the hoopla died down, I went over and gave him my address. I said, Barry, I may have some work for you. Come out and see me in California.
Now, when he came out, is that when he brought Jerry?
No, he didn't bring anybody.
Oh, I thought at some point he introduced Jerry to you.
No, Jerry's been my friend. We went to Pakistan together.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
See what Google does?
Pardon?
See what Google does?
Yeah. No, he had a guy named Emil Camp that I had to pay $20,000 for that was would have been in prison with him. And he went down and got him a camp out. He wanted a co-pilot. I said, man, you put 100 kilos with that. Where are you on a co-pilot? He wouldn't fly without somebody with him. He just wouldn't fly by himself. I ain't gonna fly with nobody. I said, when they get scared, they scare me.
Yeah, right.
I'm not scared by myself.
They'll send you. They'll send you down the.
People will make you make the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
I tell you, they will. Many times it's happened to me.
Yeah, well, you know, you hear something and you think, oh, well, you start to question yourself.
Exactly.
You know, instead of just going with what isn't broken.
In life, if I would have just went by my thoughts, I'd have been infinitely better off.
However,
I didn't.
Didn't know that.
I listened to the snitches and the cons and everything. Yes. So anyway, I Barry came out and I had a almost brand new 690B Aero Commander. That thing was beautiful, 1,000 horsepower, jet engines. It turns props. And I said, "Show me your stuff." Oh boy, he put me through something that Magic Mountain don't do.
When did you get the Panther?
Oh, pretty soon after that, whenever he started flying, he wanted a Panther. He flew that. I think he did 1 or 2 loads with the Aero Command, and then I did 1 load with a Twin Beach, and I was flying up. From Columbia and to Orange Walk, Belize. And we was taking the load out of my plane and putting it in his, and I was flying on to Jamaica where I kept the plane. And it got dangerous because that's $15 million changing hands there in 15 minutes every week. I was afraid somebody was going to come take it from us.
They would have.
They would have. So we said we need to do all the way. So that's when I went and talked to them, and they told me to go to Nicaragua to a runway there. And I met the people, and we could refuel there, and that helped out. So I bought the Panthers, and that's a Navajo Panther, and they've taken it from the firewall forward and put new engines on it with four-bladed props with a Q-tip, so it don't make noise.
Because in your book, just reading it and then listening to it, it just seems like you got real excited when you got that Panther.
I liked it. I tell you what,
it just. When you're reading, you could tell when you got that Panther, you felt pretty good.
It had storm scopes on them, radar on it. Man, that thing looked like a brand new little executive. I've been hauling World War II junk.
Yeah, you've been hauling using planes with 1950.
Yeah, exactly. All of them.
You got to pull like a lawnmower to start them.
There's something other. Yes, certainly.
Close enough, right?
This was nice, and they would do the job. I guess these things would fly at nearly 3,000 miles. They certainly go from Columbia to Arkansas, but it was a little low on fuel, so you usually land in Nicaragua and refuel.
Speaking of Arkansas, so how I've heard this from not just you, another narco, Jorge Cardona, right? Jota Cardona. He had said the same thing. How are the Clintons involved in helping getting this in?
Well, they owned. Or they certainly the strong man of Mena, Arkansas, and that movie with Tom Cruise in it was written as Mena, and that was going to tell the story. But Hillary was running for president, and the Democrats jumped up and down, screamed bloody murder, no, and even the director quit on that, and they changed the script and changed the name to America Made with Tom Cruise. Can you imagine? That was just like. Just nothing. Absolutely, just like it's just bull.
Yeah. Do you care if we play the trailer and you can just say what's bullshit? Can you get rid of that bottom part? Rob?
I'm gonna.
So now, Roger. So originally, Roger, the script was correct. So originally, the script that they had
was called Mena.
Was called Mena, and it was the true story.
It was supposed to have been the true story. Yes, is what come out, but they changed it, and now you got this bullshit.
Which is bullshit. And
absolutely.
I've read many articles where
just unbelievable.
They got it all wrong. Right?
They didn't get nothing right.
Let me refresh it because it keeps going back to the...
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Doug Lyman. I'm the director of American Made, and this is our trailer. The thing I loved most about making this film was doing these flying sequences with Tom, because he's a pilot, and he did all his own flying, and he really was an extraordinary... Tom's an extraordinary pilot. Barry Seal, who he plays, was this, unbelievable pilot flying for the CIA in the 80s, who basically never saw a rule. He wasn't.
He was flying for Roger in the 80s.
Attracted to the impossible.
Welcome to Miami. Welcome to Bakersfield.
Haven't you ever wanted something more, Barry? You should be serving your country. Your CIA.
You know, I've done the CIA before,
All bullshit.
as you see there,
100%.
among other things.
Deliver stuff for us.
Here was a chance to explore kind of this relationship between the kind of by the book, believing in the mission of fighting
That's good,
the
Rob.
Cold
That's good.
War, and that
Yeah.
guy
So
Yeah.
played by
bullshit.
Gleason being
And how did the Clintons, not necessarily you, but just in general, aid in the trafficking?
Well, Barry told me I will not land anywhere. I said, you can land on Interstate 10. It's just nobody out there. I got a place there, Lake Pontchartrain. You can land on for $10,000 that the sheriff paid off. So I said, he said, man, I am not going to fly. I will not go anywhere else except Mena, Arkansas. And so he took my plane there and had it tanked out, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. And he says that I have it paid off all the way to the top. I take this to the governor. So I don't know. I never met him, didn't want to meet him. So I paid $50,000 every time his plane touched my plane touched the ground in Mena, Arkansas.
And what happened after that? You don't know.
I don't know
Yeah.
where he got it, who didn't. I mean, I can't testify against something I don't know. I just know I was paying it to somebody at Mena, and the boss man there was getting it.
Right. And it was a lot more than other places, right?
Oh, yeah, 5 times more than.
5 times more.
Yeah.
That would piss me the fuck off, man. Tom Cruise is about to make my movie, and boom, it's all bullshit.
Yeah. It's just so much that was stupid. Can you imagine them betting $100 that he can't take off? Oh, his runway's too short. I think they cooked some of that out of my book too.
Oh, I'm
Where
sure.
It went right through. I went right through the scrubs at the end, just like he did. And I tell about how I fell off into a canyon, and the guy didn't even know where I was alive or not. They didn't care.
I almost watched it, and then I pulled up an article where you said it was all wrong, and then I was done with that.
Yeah.
I wanted nothing to do with it.
You know, it's just in like five planes coming at one time, and they talking to the DEA. How do you know what channels they on? You know, how you doing it right in the daytime? You don't do it in the daytime. I pioneered that route and come over Merida, Mexico, and you put it on the deck about 300 miles out, and you slow it down to 120 miles an hour, and you come in with the helicopters. They might be 50 helicopters with their lights blinking on just after dark, changing crews for all those oil wells out there.
That's reality, sweethearts, right? And then I found the thing, Hollywood history versus Hollywood, and it goes down, and it says everything you said, everything you had said just to me now, and in other interviews and articles, you got a third party, reputable, saying the same thing.
Oh, it was just ridiculous. I paid $20 for it down in Australia, and I gave it away the next day.
See,
Wait,
yeah.
back down there just a little bit. Yeah.
Here?
Oh, yeah, that's him. Didn't it look like Pablo to me right there at that time? And how they was throwing it out the bottom of the airplane, landing in. I suppose somebody would have, but you got 500 kilos. You're not going to throw it anywhere. You got it jammed packer full.
Tom's a little.
That's old Barry. I love Barry. He was my friend, and they put so much pressure on him. I guess 3 life sentences. He just didn't want to do it, and it wasn't like he was telling on the little people. He was telling on
The big people.
the big boys. He went to Congress and almost brought the government down. He taking those guns down for Oliver North. Can you imagine?
Did you know he was running guns?
No, I was in prison when he started doing that. So he cut me completely out, but he paid my wife for the planes and whatever. He was honest completely. Sent a good lawyer in.
Good for him.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, you got to respect that.
And when he saw me, he just cried. He said, "Roger, I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it." He said, "I'm so sorry."
So what event happened that he got caught that he then turned coat or turned rat and started working with the CIA, right?
About 5 years before that happened, he was down in Isla Providencia there, and he handed a DEA agent a handful of little pills. It was synthetic heroin, and that they held that over him the whole time.
I bet they did.
And so they couldn't catch him. And he'd just tell you, hang up your gun, boys. You ain't got sense enough to catch me. I mean, he was cocky. So so right before, so he was, of course, working with the CIA, and I suppose that he was working with the state police in Louisiana, in Arkansas, and he thought he was, so he was taking the guns back down for Oliver North. But can you imagine taking a few BB guns down there and then hauling a ton of cocaine back? You can see, oh, this is an excuse.
Yeah, right. Like,
And
it doesn't
here's
take
the
a
money.
rocket science.
Exactly. Now we're trading guns.
BB guns for cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. And, you look at what they did. It just wasn't nothing. Okay, so he made maybe all 1,000 guns. So what? That's nothing in a war. That's just nothing. So, and then you bring it 1.5 10-ton loads of cocaine back at the time. He finally bought a C-126 with the big drop-down door on the back where you could drive your Jeep up in there.
Damn.
Jesus.
That's like the plane Obama took fucking $1 billion on into wherever where'd he ever take that money to? Remember he did that?
Yeah, Iraq.
Iraq, yeah. He didn't do any time. He got gray, but he didn't do any time.
What about Mr. Bush?
How about him? I've heard a lot about Mr. Bush.
Let's just go bomb this.
What's he all into?
Well, Barry showed me a picture, and I can get it from somewhere, of both the Bush boys walking away from an airplane in Opelika with 2 kilos of cocaine. Jeb and the president.
Heard that.
Of course they did.
Yep.
Of course they did.
But I've always heard that Bush and Clinton were heavily involved to this day.
I don't know. I imagine they done made enough money. They don't need to fool with it now.
Is there enough money for them? Is there ever enough?
You
know what
it's
I mean?
like one ad. What do you want? And he said, more.
Because you buy that $30 million house, the $30 million plane, and then now you need more and more and more. Now you need somehow you're getting $500K to do a speech in a country that doesn't know English.
Exactly.
This fucking guy goes to, like Nigeria, where not one person knows English. Somehow he gets $500K to do 30-minute speech, and then flies back and nobody asks any questions.
Well, I'd like to ask you, when they bombed Baghdad, they didn't touch the oil ministry with all the records, and they didn't touch the museum, but somebody went in there and took 5,000 artifacts, and they even had up in the top, they had the phony ones in the cases. They went in the basement and got the real ones. Those things go back to the beginning of civilization. They haven't been found.
Wonder where those
got off. And they put plane loads of money over there. It just disappeared.
I'm not a betting man, but I'm pretty sure I would take the odds on this one.
Aliens came down.
It was the aliens, Roger.
Well, took those, yes.
That's what the drones are.
That's right.
So now, he's working with the CIA, and he at least has the respect or decency to call you, right? Or he tells you.
Well,
In a way.
I got out of prison. I did 2 years for the marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 30 years of parole, whatever.
Fucking crazy.
And I watching the television, there's Ronald Reagan's Blue Eyes, and there's a fat lady on the strip there in Nicaragua, with our strip, bellied in with the propellers bent. And Ronald Reagan Blue Eyes saying, we have absolute proof that the communist Sandinista government is in the cocaine running business. That word for word. I said, oh God, my belly had ice water in it. I just got out.
It's like the not good butterflies.
I can't run.
Right?
I run because let's see what happens, and the phone rang.
Roger, it's not like the new girl butterflies.
No.
It's the butterflies that aren't flying.
It was ice water, yeah.
They ain't got no wings.
Yeah. Oh, my.
Take me through that, because
so
that
the
happened to be,
phone rang, and Barry said, I'm coming out tonight. I'll meet you in such and such a French restaurant there in Santa Barbara. I'll be there at 9 o'clock. So I walked in, and Barry was in a chair leaning upside the wall. And I walked up. I said, are you wired, Barry? And he said, no. And I said, well, I'm not going to say anything. You just talk to me. I said, all DEA agents. He said, every one of them. I said, all right. About 20 of them, women in leather skirts and all. So
the whole nine.
They had their guns and their whatever. And I said, well, I might be going back to prison tonight. So I just sat in front of him. I said, well, just tell me what happened, Barry. And he just started telling me, and he just told me, like, Roger, I just, what doing? I said, they left me holding the bag. I was a scapegoat, and I was facing 3 life sentences. And when the shit hit the fan with that Oliver North stuff, they all ran and left me. So
Of course they did.
he said, I got out on bail, and I flew my jet up to Washington, saw Edwin Meese, the Attorney General, and they kicked me out. I said, they're bringing tons of cocaine in. He wouldn't believe it. He says, I went back the next day, and so they put me in with this fellow over here, Jake Jacobson, and we went down and hauled and did the deal. And he says, so I just couldn't do it. And he just said, I just couldn't do it, Roger. I just couldn't do it. And he started crying. He put both hands up over his eyes, and the tears ran between his fingers. He said, "Nah, I've testified before Congress. I've told them everything. You've got to testify with me. But I made it. You're under my umbrella. It was part of the deal that you're protected too." Well, thank you very much. but so so the Jacobson came over, and I liked him. I think he was a crop duster from Alabama. If we'd been on the same side, we'd been all right. You know? And so blue jeans and cowboy boots, and we drink Chivas Regal and got a little pie. And he said, "Now, Roger, you can come down tomorrow first class with Maury, or I can take you down tonight in chains. But you going." He said, "And you're going to testify. And if you don't, the only place you're ever going to see your family again is in a federal penitentiary visiting room. I guarantee you that." And I know he was telling the truth. Barry would have had to put me there.
Yeah.
So I said, I believe I come first class. So I went down there and flew down to see Gould. And I didn't realize his office had got blown up and his partner got blown to smithereens for representing a snitch.
Oh, nice.
So anyhow, I walked in. He's supposed to be the best lawyer, and
Nice
he's
news.
on a treadmill, and he's walking away. And I told him what my situation was. He said, "Well, I'll represent you for $600,000, but I don't talk to snitches." "I'm no snitch." He said, "Well, that's what you're talking about." I said, "No, man, I'm just asking for some advice. I've got to do something." He said, "Well, being a snitch is like being pregnant. You either are or you're not. Tell me which you are."
Yeah.
God, man. Well, I know that's the truth now, but
one or the
I
other,
thought
right?
maybe I could, shuffle.
Right. Maybe there's something, right?
Yeah, I'm saying maybe some.
Maybe there's a wrong sentence somewhere.
Swim in the ocean, there's a straw, something of it. So I went to see another lawyer. He was kinder, but the same. So I went to see. I went to the courtroom to tell them that I had to. I was having trouble getting a lawyer. I was supposed to meet them there at 3:00 in the afternoon. And boy, here they came up with a cavalcade. There was 3 or 4 men in the front car with machine guns, and here's Barry's in the back seat with two big guys where they got the guns, and they pulled right up into the courtroom, right up to the court, and they all looking out. And I'm standing there on the steps right by the pillar, and I just took one step down, hit the top of that car, and the windows was open.
Oh, yeah, they called you Spider-Man in the paper, right?
Yeah.
They called him, there was what was in the Post?
That was when I escaped in Spain.
Yeah, he escaped to Spain, and they called him Spider-Man.
Anyway, I hit the top of that car, and it scared the living daylight out of him.
Take me through how you escaped in detail, because he fucking jumped out a window.
It's pretty simple, ain't it?
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Take me through it.
I fled to Brazil with my family.
You got to take me through jumping through the window.
I'm gonna jump back and finish the story
All right.
about Barry. Anyway, I told him I need to get a lawyer, and then I had dinner that night with my wife at the festival, and Barry knew I liked to eat there, so he came in. It was on my birthday, 1986, and we had dessert together. And I said, "Barry, they're gonna kill you." "Oh no," I said, "Barry, friend, they are going to kill you. Don't you know that?" And I hugged his neck. I mean, almost a tear, like, they're going to kill you. You
knew that was it.
Yeah, of course they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
So I took Maury and the children, and we fled to Brazil. And then they did kill him.
What, about 6 months later?
That's exactly 6 months later. So, yeah.
How do you feel about Barry now? How do you feel about him?
I still love him.
Do you?
Yeah. Listen, they put him in a terrible place.
Yeah.
He was working with those people. They were bosses of the world.
Yeah.
I won't say presidents, governors, CIA,
You name it.
FBI. I understood John Gotti was there one time. Here you got the Bushes. You got he was just covered, and they all just run like scared rabbits when the shit hit the fan.
And then there's Barry.
And here's Barry. Oh, shit.
Yeah, Bush is gone. He's on vacation in Panama.
Ain't nobody wanting to
Clinton's
talk.
getting paid $500K for 30 seconds somewhere. And then there's Barry.
And I'm the scapegoat.
And you're the
I'm
scapegoat.
laid into the desert to just take the punishment for all of them. And he said, So I wish he hadn't done it. I served a lot of time because of that. I mean, not directly. I didn't get convicted of it. They made me do 11 years parole violation for when I should have got 6 months because of what he told.
Which should be noted that is the largest parole violation sentence in history.
In the world, I reckon.
In the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
For a simple parole violation.
And he didn't even kill anybody.
Do nothing. Just left.
You know.
And those people get 6 months for that.
Yeah. I've never heard anywhere near that.
I never knew. 7 years about the most I ever heard.
I've heard 5 maybe one time. But not for, I mean, we're talking like when the only time I've heard somebody get 5 years, they caught another federal charge.
Yes.
You know.
And they had to find that one first.
Right. And then their points went up and then they got crushed.
Well, they got me for stuff that escaping in Spain, escaping in Germany, which is not illegal.
That blows my mind that's not illegal.
Yep. I'll finish that story about if you want to tell about those escapes.
Please do.
All right. They arrested me in Spain, and I got away from them 3 times when they arrested me.
3 times?
Just, the police. And then they arrested me in Holland. I got away in the airport from a whole slew of them. And that was a good chapter there. That was fun. It's kind of long to tell. In Amsterdam, right in the airport.
It's right in the middle of the book, I think, right?
Yeah.
Midway, yeah.
So, but anyway, they finally got me and put me in Spain, and they had me in there because I'd escaped. They took my clothes. I was naked in the prison, so they thought I couldn't escape if I was naked.
Oh, jeez.
So they got me closed up, and they would transport me. They put they handcuffed me this way, so I can't get to my handcuffs.
I bet that was comfortable.
I tell you what, you do a day like that, and you can hardly get your arms down. It's excruciating.
Ugh.
So anyway, when they take to court, they have to take them off. They have to put them in front of you. They're not going to let you be in the courtroom.
like a complete goofball, all right.
That's right. They had 4 of them on me in the courtroom, and the courtroom was full. And the judge was late getting there, and he just late, and we're up high. I can't even see the top of the palm trees. I can't see telephone wires. And I think, wow, that window's pretty big in front of it. And there was a big desk, and there was a stenographer there, and she was very pregnant, and she was working on her nails, waiting on the judge. She was so contented.
You're scoping.
So I tell this guy, Basconi was his lawyer, I said, how high are we? He said, you'll kill yourself. I said, I'm dead anyway. So I'm going to go for it. There might be a power line or something I can grab on and break
you
and fall.
You got balls, man.
Or tree I can hit, too, like a flying squirrel or something. So when 2 of them went to smoke, I run across that courtroom and jumped on that stenographer's desk. She threw her files up. I'm almost in her lap. I just kind of smiled at her, and I kicked that window out. And I looked down, and it was a long, long, long way. I was above everything. And it was on the 3rd floor, but in Spain, those things are a long way apart, tall, big stone stuff. And there was a car, it looked like a station wagon, kind of white color, and it was up, the streets are narrow anyway, and it was up on and parked up a little bit on its edge. Well, when I was on the fire department there in Redondo Beach, I used to bail out into the net, so I knew how to land. You put your feet in your ass and crush it down. So I bailed. I could hear the whole courtroom. It was a big sucking sound going in, like a scream. And I jumped out, and I hit the top of that car. And I felt like Donald Duck. And I could see the windows as they shadowed. It went up, looked like snow going up. And they said that the windshield popped over 4 cars with a concussion. Damn. And the hood of the car went to the drive shaft.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
And I jumped out and ran, got away.
And you didn't break your back or nothing?
No, but I got a spot right now that's just burning me up because it's dead. And it's about the size of a quarter back there, and hair grows in it, or nerve damage from that.
Well, at least you got out. That's not bad.
And so that's when they said. So the next day, the newspaper said Spider-Man escapes. So,
didn't you jump on a school bus or something? Or was that another one?
That was another one, yeah.
That was another one.
This is like a fucking video game here.
Yeah.
Christ.
Which was the one when you escaped and you ended up jumping on the back of a school bus. You gotta read it. I'm telling you.
I was in the hotel room, and
for those of you watching, this book is great. I mean, it's action packed.
I'll tell you about the school bus. There's many stories. There's 43 of them, chapters in there, and I believe there's some guys writing a script for a series, and they say they got I believe 40
Yeah, that's what I
laid
was
out.
gonna say. This would be an awesome fucking series. Oh my
Yeah.
God, like I'm just listening to all this. I'm
Like,
just,
so they're talking 30 to 50 episodes, right?
Yeah.
I haven't been talking much because I'm listening. It's just I'm just blown away back here. Holy shit!
Oh, you haven't even heard all. We're just like
Scratching the
like
surface.
we're just like
Scratching this.
brushing by things, not deep,
Yeah.
deep, because you got to get the book.
Strange that you remember the school bus because that's the least part of it.
But it's funny, crazy.
how you get away.
Cool, yeah. But but the thing is, it's real. It's
Yeah.
not a movie. Like you jumped out a window, landed on a car, and made it. Okay.
You should call Holly.
In a fucking
call Holly.
courtroom.
You could be a stuntman for some of these movies here. Jesus,
Fuck, he's running fucking. He's hiking 12 miles.
stuntman.
Might as well do a stuntman shit. Why
I
not?
would do them. Anyway, I was.
have to
I
introduce
woke
you
up
to
one
somebody.
morning and I'd bought a load. I think I bought a ton. I was waiting on somebody to bring the plane down, and I called down for huevos, rancheros, and coffee, and knock on the door good and loud. And I opened the door just in my blue jeans, and about 6 o'clock in the morning, just getting daylight. A great big red-faced waiter, Buenos dias, and he had a coffee pot, and he held it in the other hand, and underneath it, he pulled a pearl handle 45 and put it between my eyes. Federal Police de Mexico.
That's
You
nice.
make one move, I kill you, comprende? See, comprende.
Come right
So he got me. He told me to get dressed, and so I put my clothes on, and I reach in the mini bar and get a Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola bottle's been one of my favorite weapons and throughout life. They always handy. They are about as bad as any blackjack you've ever seen,
Mash
and they got a nice handhold on them.
And back then it was a glass Coke bottle, right?
The glass Coke bottle.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. The ones that they charge you now if you want glass for
Oh,
20
they
bucks
laugh.
just to have. Yeah, it'd kill you. You go broke buying Coke. Not that kind of Coke.
So he's over the reading my passport, and I have I want to knock him in the head and ease on out of there, but I'm on the 6th floor, and I don't know how many's out that door. So I with a trembling hand, I put that Coca-Cola bottle back.
Because you might not have enough pieces of glass. If it's
Well,
not right.
it wouldn't. I wouldn't have killed him. I just knocked him out.
Yeah, something.
So, but if I'm sure if I did that and there's 6 more out that door, I'm going to pay 10 times for it.
Probably.
For sure. Anyway,
So that option's out the window.
so he puts his gun in my ribs, and we go downstairs, and they are 3 carloads, and they take me through town, and I thought they're going to put me into prison. They don't. They go right on out through town, right on out, several miles out, and they pass over a railroad track, and they turn down the railroad track and go down there 100 yards or so and stop.
Now, what are you thinking right now when you're not going where you think you're going?
Well, I don't know what's going on.
It's like, here we go again.
But I'm thinking, you're going in an area, buddy, that I can get away if you don't watch out. Because you go into the woods, that's where I was raised.
Well, I figured that's what you were hoping.
So anyway, they go out there and they stop off, and there's a place that looks like it's about an acre, and it's where there's a truck that got a winch on it that picks up the dead cows and burros and goats on the highway that's killed by the trucks and cars. And this is not the graveyard, this is a rot yard for them. They bring them to rot. And it looks like about once a year they bring a bulldozer and they push all them cow hides and legs up into piles, and they've been doing it for years, and gourds grow out of their rank, and in by yon, that is thick jungle. So the bulldozer hadn't come in a long time. There's a lot of carrion there. Flies, just old blue flies all in it. And the red dirt, and got rocks halfway sticking out of it. You've seen that kind of rocky soil where they got rocks like this cut off. And this old, I call him Red Face. He was a big fella. And blue silk shirt, looked like he had a big gold chain. He had a fish, a marlin, with a red eye on it. It just swung.
What the fuck?
It kind of mesmerizing.
Yeah, kind of like,
So he said, "I'm just 2 avions." I said, "I don't speak Spanish." And boy, he knocked me plumb off my feet with that big fat hand. Hit me upside the ear. My Spanish kind of improved.
real quick.
And knocked me plumb down. Then he took me and jerked my shirt up over my head and took my belt. He didn't even have handcuffs. They took my belt and tied my hands. I mean, they took the circulation off of my boom, boom. Then what he's doing, he tied burrows up or something. So I'm tired, and he put that stuff over, and they thumped me. I mean, they blooded me up real good. And then they went and got a big bull prod, and it's got flashlight batteries down it, and those things will set you on fire. They will burn you hard. Well, they started off on my most tender parts.
Damn.
And they must have burnt me at least 100 times. And he come and he had a cigar, and he put that cigar out on my neck right there, just ground it in, and holding my hair like this. So I didn't like him much.
Yeah, I wouldn't think you would after that.
And so every once in a while he put some papers under my arm. Sign, this will be over. We're with Task Force DEA from Mexico City. We're here to stop you. You have 2 airplanes in the yacht. We're going to stop you. So they the morning goes on, and I'm beat up and bloody, and I'm down on my knees, and I had real nice gabardine pants on, and they're just completely torn out where I'm shuffling around, and the meat's gone off all on the inside of my knees there where I'm scuffling around.
Wow.
And so I'm not going to sign anything. If they kill me, I'm not about to sign anything, go to prison for 6 years. For all they doing is just, they got nothing. So the battery gets weak in the from we've overused it. So they call for the boss to bring new batteries or new caliprod. And we wait and wait. And old red face, he's sitting there and like, and 3 or 4 of them go back to kiss ass to the boss when he comes. And they standing back there talking. It's just left me and old red face. And I've got my hands free now. I pulled so hard until I've skint my hand, and I got it free. But I don't want them to see it. And I've messed around and got over one of them loose rocks. And it's about like a baseball. It's just perfect, a little bit longer.
And you're completely coherent after all that. After getting
I ain't nothing.
Cigar, everything.
Yeah, you burned. You hurt your mind.
Yeah.
You mad? Like,
A little pissed off.
so yeah, like, all right, buddy, you got it coming. Here it comes, loaded. And so I'll sign. What? He couldn't believe his ears, and he reached over there with the thing. And when he did, I came up and caught him just above the eye with that
rock.
and it looked like a bull had been poleaxed. I mean, he hit the ground. That 250-pound hit it with a thud.
What I said, the bigger they are, the quicker they drop.
Well, that ain't always true, but that one went down with that rock. So I took off running, and I had 50 steps or so before I got to those gourds. And man, did they open up. There was a pretty good piece from the car. I don't know, 50 yards away.
I would just be hoping that those doors open. That's what I would be.
Well, they was standing around.
Yeah.
And so I ran. I had slippers on. I ran plumb out of my shoes. I mean, I was putting it on to get there, and they started shooting, and they was hitting the clay, and all was real dry, and I could see where the bullets. And right when I went to go over that pile of dirt and the gourds, a little machine gun opened up, and it just shredding it up above me, and I went across, and just as soon as I went across, I hit a vine. It crushed my nose right there. You can see the dent in it today.
Yes,
and I went backwards. My feet kept going, and I hit the ground, boom, like that. And I went, oh, 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 like a wounded dog, and all the shooting stopped. And they just stopped there like, what? I got
a quick weasel your ass out of there,
yeah,
right?
So I went, and Rachel, I can't get my glasses back on here.
I think you got like, I think Roger over here has got 9 lives.
Oh my!
You got more lives than the longest living cat in history.
I had some times. Anyway, I thought, all right. I pulled that shirt off, that bloody shirt, and put it under a log. And then I thought, all right. And then I thought, oh, should I stay in here or not? And I'd been reading like, the guy that wrote Livingston Seagull. He tells about if you think of something, it'll happen. Well, I'd been reading it. It had a blue feather on the front of that book. And so laying right in my path was that exact blue feather from a parrot. And a light was shining on it in the jungle.
Kind of weird, right?
And a little palispan, put it in my pocket.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right. So no, I said, I better get out of here. This is not a very big place. It looked like about a half-mile square of jungle. So I went to lay down at the edge, and I thought, okay, got to go across that little road, and there's a little pasture out there with a horse in it. And then beyond that looked like 1,000 acres of mango trees that was young. They weren't much bigger around than my arm. So I lay there for a minute, and just about the time I was ready to go, I heard a radio crack right next to me, right on the bushes on the other side. And that was one of them policemen. He was hiding in the bushes. And then a car came up, zoomed, and he got in, and they zoomed off. And I ran across that road on my belly and went under that fence, and there was an old white horse, and she just went to prancing around me. I was like, get away from me. Usually a horse would go away. That horse was playing with me. Just a big old pet. Anyway, I got across.
You're like, now's not the time.
Ain't the time. So I got on across that pasture. It wasn't very wide. And I went to the second row, and I got up into one of those little trees. And then a helicopter landed, one of them big like Vietnam ones, and 17 soldiers got out with their guns and went in and searched that place. And I sat in that, they stayed there all day long. I mean, now it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. They stayed till like 3 or 4. And they searching, and finally I see the helicopter take off. I can hardly get out of that tree because if I even moved, that tree shook. It was little.
They're gonna know
I was
that,
paralyzed sitting up there and so thirsty. It was hot. And after what I'd been through in the morning, I was thirsty. So I got off and walked across that that long way, and I must have walked a mile, and I came to a chicken house that hadn't been used for years and had some water, and I washed the blood off, but I couldn't. The water was just too bad to drink. And there was a school bus come by on a dirt road, rough dirt road, and I jumped on, and it was all covered the back of it. It had 6 inches of clay on the back all the way to the top. And I got on the ladder, and I must have rode 5 miles till I got to the highway and went into the store and bought some clothes.
This is like Indiana Jones. I'm
Times
imagining
10.
Indiana
Yeah.
Jones times 10. That's a movie. This is real life. I can't believe it.
And then this may have happened before or after, but they put you in a California prison, right? Co-ed? It was co-ed?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. You know, they did that recently with this whole transgender thing, whatever thing. So they did that in one state, I forget.
Pregnant?
And they were wondering why people were getting pregnant. It was this year.
Yeah.
This year it happened.
Well, they just picked the nicest looking guys in the federal system and sent them there.
Yeah.
They had some awful.
So now, is this the 70s or 80s when you're in this co-ed prison?
In 1983.
83. Now, what the hell is that like? That's got to be
I noticed that my
interesting situation.
I would say that my wife visited me more there than she usually did.
I bet she did. She was on you then, huh?
Only joking. I behaved myself. I really did. I tell you what, those gals would put it on you. Now, they ain't no lie about it. They was some horny gals there. And if you got caught having sex with one of them, they wrote your family and said your husband or your son has been caught having sex with an inmate. They didn't tell what kind. And they put you on a bus called diesel therapy.
Oh, I know.
And that was just horrible. 6 months, you ride from one city to the other, and they spray you down with that stuff, and jumpsuit, and a cold sandwich, and tepid coffee, and back up at 4 o'clock in the morning, back on that bus, to endless. They made big man cry.
My buddy he just recently, maybe 5 years ago, they got him. They gave him the diesel treatment. Now they put you on planes with duct tape on the wings.
Huh.
They shackle your hands, ankles, and all over the place. Yeah. Places that are like on the other side of the country of where you're designated, they take you. And he said all the planes, you look out the window, and, they might just do it to mess with them. Who knows?
Yeah.
But duct tape on the wings.
Yeah.
But if you don't know anything, you look out there and you go, oh, shit. Well, you could be the toughest guy in the world.
That Con Air is a ripoff to the United States government, and it's owned by an outfit in Canada because it's out and it's our politicians own it. They got 23 airplanes. They flying people nonstop here and there. I meet a guy. I'm in on the floor. Finally, I got on the floor in Oklahoma City. That's a bus station, folks. Well, 1,800 beds, and it's hot beds, one right after the other, planes coming in. And I asked the guy, "Oh, you're from Albany? I'm from there, close by. Well, what'd you do?" I got caught with 2 grams of methamphetamine. Well, where are you going? I'm going to Los Angeles for psychiatric evaluation. All the way out there? Yeah, that's where they sent me, but I've been here for 3 months. I'm waiting for the next plane. And another guy, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Santa Barbara, California. And where you going? Oh, I got caught with 2 grams of methamphetamine. I'm going to Savannah, Georgia to get for evaluation, psychiatric. They running them. And most of them in there for less than 5 grams of methamphetamine. Thousands and thousands for nothing.
Well, just think, all these prisons, I think 95% are privately owned. It's a fucking business.
It doesn't matter whether it is or not. There's somebody making some huge amount of money.
Huge.
So it's wrong what they're doing. I mean, it's criminal.
No, it is. I totally agree with you. 100%. 100%. You're taking people's lives away from marijuana, drugs. What the fuck?
Let me just tell you how simple it is. A young man or a woman becomes a police officer in Podok, or he gets on the DEA. He goes onto the bridge and shoots a little heroin, smells a little stuff, snorts a little stuff. He gets one man that's mentally ill to sell 2 grams to another man that's mentally ill. He arrests them both. Now, he does that about once a month, and he's got 24 of them at the end of the year. Guess who makes captain when 3 years is up?
Him.
So he's a prick to start with, just to do it. He doesn't care. Now, they got a young guy just out of a law school. Nobody will hire him, so he gets a job as a as a prosecutor.
Yeah.
He went to one of these night schools. So he's a prosecutor. Now, boy, he tells the guy, listen, I'm giving you 10 years. You plead guilty and you get 5. Don't I guarantee you're going to get 10 years. I'm going
to get you 5.
I'm going to give you 5.
I'm going to do it for you.
So he tells the judge that, and so he got about a 99% conviction rate. Now he makes a judge. Judge Gilbert, you got some fool like that up in Detroit. I swear right here on this Bible that I'm going to give men 1,000,000 years in prison before I get off the throne.
Oh, I know one of those. He was in Tampa. He was dead set on giving 1,000,000 years out. And the day he gave his 1,000th year, he retired. Yeah. And he really did. He was giving guys 20 years.
Yeah.
Like the guidelines, maximum on the guidelines were maybe 10.
Yeah.
He would give 20.
You get fools like this in our government, and they can't nobody get rid of them. They're appointed by the president.
It's fucking crazy.
It's just insane.
It's one thing to go in to be a judge and do your 9 to 5. You have the guidelines. You do your job and you leave. You're a cop. Okay, you do your job, and that's it. You don't need to, do this power trip shit.
They're just sick with power.
And the problem is that there are a lot of good police officers and a lot of good feds that they do their 9 to 5. They're not out to kill you. If you do something wrong, they come get you. They're not assholes. But then you get that handful of assholes that they're just pure assholes. Like somebody takes the job as a judge, and their goal is to take away 1,000,000 years of people's lives overall. How can you go to bed at night?
Except their friends and families.
Yeah. Right, but I bet if their friends and families got hit, probation.
They all of them would have to spend a month in prison before they can be a judge or a prosecutor. Let's see. That's what you're talking. That's what you're asking, and don't let anybody know it. You go in there and you get on the dirty clothes and go in there and do it real. You should know what you're doing.
I agree with you.
33 years in there for nonviolent drug offenses. I am a victim. I don't care what nobody said. Yes, what I did was wrong. But, man, compare it to what's being done.
And how about the fucking parole violation? On top of the...
It's insanity.
Sick.
Yeah.
It's insanity. And it's wrong, and nothing's done about it.
Well, what was the question you asked me before I got off on my...
I don't know. I'm still stuck on I don't know how these guys could sleep at night, because that's 2 now. I've heard that from you and Mike Apple, who's back in again.
That's like the Kids for Cash judges. Well, one's 32 years. And
he used to work for Fox and NBC affiliate in Philadelphia. Tell Roger about this crazy.
So there were 2 judges. One was actually a family friend. And so a kid would get caught smoking a cigarette on school grounds, right? Bad kid. Shouldn't be smoking cigarettes on school property, right? So parents would want to toughen the kid up, like teach him a lesson. My kid's out of hand. I gotta teach him a lesson. So these judges, what they were doing was they would go in front of the judge. The judge was a no-nonsense judge. We're going to teach little Bobby a lesson here. He won't ever smoke a cigarette on school grounds again. So go to court, no appointed lawyer, no nothing. Judge sentenced him to 2 months in the juvenile detention center. That was built and operated by a close friend of the judge's. And kid would go in there for 2 months. Well, he wasn't behaving. He has to stay longer, 6 months, a year. This was a lot of kids doing this. Some kids worse than others, things that they did worse than others. One kid actually wound up killing himself after it. And so they brought down the operation. So the one judge, the kingpin that they said was the kingpin, got 32 years. He's still in jail. 32-year prison sentence he's serving. So they're getting kickbacks for all these kids, money, crazy money.
Roger kids.
Yeah.
And the
Got
other
32.
judge
And the other one.
is now out. He was serving a 20-year sentence, I believe. He's hanging out here somewhere in South Florida, apparently. He's on home confinement on a house that I think sits right along the Intercoastal Waterway. Beautiful boats going by. And he got 18 years, but he got let out because of COVID.
And how many did he end up doing before they let him out, do you think?
6 years.
So Roger.
18 was his total, or 20 was his 20.
So you got two guys. One guy got 32.
He's still in.
With good time, he'll get out in 20. You know, what are they giving? 2 months a year? So hypothetically, let's just say he'll be out in 26. Halfway house, maybe 25. The other one does 7. So if you combine those two guys who are putting innocent little kids away for smoking a cigarette, ruining their lives.
The kid killed himself.
Kid killed himself. You did more time than those two combined. And you're talking about kids.
You better be happy they're not my young'uns.
You ain't lying.
For
Right?
sure.
But that just shows you how fucked up things are.
Well, I tell you, when I got out of prison before, I needed some money, and I felt was going to change some gold coins that I had, and so I went and dug some up and give them to him. Of course, he was a snitch, and I got charged. And I got charged for, my sister took them to him, so I wasn't there, so I didn't actually get arrested. But I went before the judge later on, and the charge was, there was no charge for it at the time, because I'd already served the time for it, for the taxes and for the marijuana. But they said, it was a paragraph like, Reaves dug up and moved gold coins that the United States government would have seized if they'd known he had them. Well, I went before Judge Eidman, and he gave me 5 years for that.
Damn.
Now then, he must have had something really, really wrong with gold coins, because this is the worst injustice I've ever seen on two men. The Andonian brothers, about 40 years ago, had a little gold store in San Francisco. And they sold gold chains and gold coins and things, 1,000 other gold coins like this, some big ones, some little ones. Well, this South American drug dealer came in and wanted to buy some gold coins, and they sold him some gold coins. So they went to the lawyer and says, he'd come back again. We're kind of dubious about this. He said, well, get their name and their address and all this and report it to the government every time he comes in. So the guy, over from years, he come in 101 times, and they sold him gold coins for money. Well, the government charged him. They went before the same judge, and he gave them 5 years for each count. Wow. 505 years. Beautiful wives, little children crying and hanging on their daddies in the visiting room because they sold gold coins in their legal business and reported it. And they're in Lompoc Penitentiary, maximum place, the rest of their lives. Can't get out.
Gold coins.
Gold coins. Legally reported it. Of course.
This podcast is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go to www.expressvpn.com, use code MSCS, and get 20% off your order.
VPN is a power tool for your devices that enhances the internet. With it, you can do 3 really cool things. 1. Watch movies and TV from any of your devices, fast and securely. 2. You can use parts of the internet that are blocked in certain countries. 3. You can keep your internet traffic private, even when you're on an unsecured public network.
That's www.expressvpn.com. Use the code MSCS at checkout and get 20% off your order.
They may have figured, of course, this is, but still, they've been in there over 40 years.
Child molesters, good.
And the drug dealer's out a long time ago.
How about the child molesters? Like you just said. They're out.
Yeah.
And those are just judges, not the actual child molesters. I mean, fuck. They get 10, 15. This guy's got 40 for coins.
Yeah. 505 years. That's what he got. 505 years. And he didn't care.
You want to talk about a crazy system, right?
It needs changing, folks. We need to find some politicians. These people are raping you.
Yeah.
They're raping the American people. There's no way on earth. It's costing you. Mental health is 50% of the people in prison have mental health problems. At Long Park, there was a line of them for the Thorazine. Just keep them zombied all day long.
Yeah. What was it? Thorazine and lithium.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. It's crazy,
God,
but
just
it's all about the money.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't see it changing anytime soon.
It's got to.
I hope so.
Well, look at the homeless.
Yeah.
That's where it's coming from. Ronald Reagan dismantled the mental health program in America. That's what's wrong with the prison and the homelessness right now because of that one stroke of his pen.
But can't that be retracted by another president?
Our president could just put it back in, plug it in. It wouldn't take 1/10 of what he left over in Afghanistan.
Well, that's what he ran on.
That's right. On mental health.
Yeah, he ran on that. Letting people out of prison, legalizing some drugs, so there wasn't so many people going to jail for nonviolent offenses.
Yeah, they should. That everybody.
But I haven't seen 1 inch of that happening.
They won't let you. They won't let it. The Bureau of Prisons won't let you out, even though when they're told to.
Oh yeah, the FBOP.
Down there in Texas somewhere, I've had all mine. Let him out. Let him out. Nope.
So now another crazy thing was. You avoided detection. You almost went to Antarctica, but you couldn't go to Antarctica because you would have got detected. So you stayed right around South Africa, right? So tell me about that whole situation.
Oh, with the load I took to Australia.
Yeah.
Well, after I'd
that turns interesting after that.
Well, you didn't. After I escaped from the German prison, you didn't. I didn't tell you about that, did I?
Yeah, that would have been number 5, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got they caught me over in Spain afterwards, and they sent me up to Madrid, and I stayed up there a year and a half fighting extradition. Then they sent me double extradition, first to Germany, and then back to the United States.
That's right. I had to read that twice. Double extradition.
Yeah.
I had to read that twice, Roger.
So I got sent up to Germany, and they kept me incognito, so I couldn't talk to the other prisoners.
Oh.
So I finally pled guilty, and I got 8 or 9 years. I believe it was 8, and I got in general population. But then the time was running out. That 8-year sentence was finished, and I knew I was going to the United States. So I don't. That place was almost inescapable. It was a sealed place with machine gun towers just thrown around it. So I got a job since I'm lesser security than some of them, to clean in the lawyer's office in the evening, and you go through a sealed door like all the stuff let off, and I got in there and I cleaned that 3 offices. Well, on the office's window looked like piano bars.
Why'd you pick that job, Roger?
And so outside of that was the equipment for the soccer with all kind of stuff. So anyway, I went in there one day, and the guard went, but he went with the guy that had to go into the computer room. So I tore the windows off of that, and I had a mop handle that I cut in 2 and a rope, and I put it around the bars and twisted it, stuck it behind, twisted the other one, and I went through, and the skin came off of me. I almost died going between it, skinned myself, and I fell over on my head, and they were pouring down rain. It was cold, and I didn't bring my asthma inhaler. And there was a scaffolding on one side of that building, and then the guard tower was right there. So I had to go around one corner and hold on to the bricks and then the scaffolding and work my way to the 4th floor, and I laid on top. Then I went to the top end, and there's a guard tower built into the side of the building in the 2nd floor with a tin roof, looked like a silo halfway out. And beyond that was a sally port, and they'd been digging a hole, and they had a big pile of sand. And I saw that when I was coming. So I jumped down. I waited till the guard and his wife was coming and a little boy. And when they come and she went to go back, and she was right in front, I bailed out on top of that guard tower. It went bam! He, hey! It scared him. And I bailed out over the wall and hit that pile of sand like a skier. And I went up to my knees. Then I went straight for her so he couldn't shoot me. and then around the corner and down I was going, and I beep, 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 and she was behind me in a big old car knocking the parking meters down, trying to run over me. So I had to get behind the car, and she tore the fenders off of her car, trying, and just like a demon's face, that little boy standing in the seat.
Yeah.
And I jumped over a fence that had glass embedded in the top of it, cut myself up, dropped down into the garden on the other side, and I went about half knee deep in slush, and I had $200 in my shoe that my wife had slipped me in there.
Ryder.
I took off with just the socks flying, lost my money. Anyhow, I got to Holland, got out of that prison, and I had to send the clothes back within 48 hours. It was stamped. Otherwise, you get 6 months for stealing their clothes. But it's not illegal to escape.
They send it back.
It's not illegal to escape, but you'll get 6 months if you do and don't give them their clothes back.
Exactly. I thought that was ironic.
I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, what the fuck?
I like it's a good system. They will shoot you and kill you. I mean, for sure. They say, "Here's the bullet." When they took me to town, and they had to take me to some kind of doctor's office or something. I was complaining about something, and it was rather nice the way they did it. They put these handcuffs on you, and they rather loose chain between them, and they got a chain that snaps on in between it, and it's about 3 feet long. It's almost like jewelry. It's pretty, and they got a T in it, and it goes between their hands, and one of them holds that, and so you can't run. I mean, you can't jerk out of a T like that. And one of them's got the clip, and the other one's got the Luger, and they show you both of them. So now if you run and get away, he will give me the clip, and I will shoot and kill you. Is that understood? Every time you go out of there, they tell you that if you have to go it and such like that.
So it ain't happening there.
Yeah.
You're not getting out of that, right?
Well, I don't know. There's a couple of old greasers I thought I might
be able to
do it, particularly in the doctor's office. He had to kind of you might make a move.
Yeah.
Do you think nowadays it's still possible? I mean, you don't hear about prison breaks much anymore, right? I mean, maybe here and there, but do you still think nowadays with all the technology and who knows what, that it's a lot harder to escape from a prison than it was maybe years ago?
Of course, it gets more so with electronics. They can see you doing everything you do now.
Yeah.
They can get out of them. I could have got out of the one in Australia if I'd have just had. My wife would have sent $25,000. I had that as close to 100% as anything could have ever been. Yeah. And she just said, no, do your time. What? 10 more years?
But you would have got out with 25 grand?
25, yeah. I had my one guy next to me that all he had to do was just a little something on the other side to fix it for me.
Oh, shit.
And for sure I would have gone and got away. And so
how did the, pull up tab 4, how did the Australian bust go down? That's all over. The biggest bust ever.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. You became a celebrity on that one.
Cocaine.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Read just the top, Rob.
A ton of cocaine in a private airstrip built for him by Pablo Escobar. The man jailed over Australia's biggest drug bust reveals his wild life as a smuggler.
Wow. That was
an interesting. Scroll down a little bit, Rob.
Yep.
That was an interesting. There you are, all jacked up.
Ew.
That's when I was slim. I gained 15 pounds since I come home.
Got nice biceps.
You worked out a lot, I take it, right?
Push-ups. I can still do 100 push-ups without stopping.
Now?
Yeah, right down good ones.
Wow.
The Supreme Court found you guilty of importing 987 kilograms of compressed white powder after police intercepted his ship, the White Dove. You know what? When I was reading a lot of these articles, a lot of times they say medication, and it makes me laugh. They would be like, "Oh, Roger was hauling, tons and tons of medication." A lot of them say medication. I'm like, it's fucking cocaine and weed. Like, what's the medication?
Cocaine flooded Australia after that.
So now, how does the biggest bust ever go down? So,
I can make it. I can tell you, I went. Okay, I left, bought the ship, and it was an offshore supply vessel, a big one, and I went to Senegal, or I forget what the islands are. Cape Verde Islands, and refueled, and I was supposed to refuel or get the cocaine there, but they made me go back 1,000 miles. So now I'm worried about fuel. And I hung around 4 days up under the satellite going back and forth like I'm fishing. And finally it comes, and they throw it over and come on the boat and rob everything they can get off of it. I can't run them off. What a wild
Nothing you could do, right?
It's just like, So anyway, I take off, and then I go around the Cape. I go around South Africa. I go down into the Antarctica waters, and I want to get as far as away as anything. I didn't see a ship for thousands of miles. Then I come up under Australia, and I find out that the offloader, he's called somebody from, I believe, California, that's just got out of a 5-ton deal. Really smart guys. The Colombian owner there was telling me about it, and I says, I'm not going towards him. And I had a vision of getting caught. I really had it just exactly like it happened later.
You saw it.
Saw it. It was 100%. Yeah. I was laying in the sand with him on my back and a gun, and I woke up crying and the tears coming down. I knew my life with Mari was over. I was just saying, poor Mari, poor Mari in my vision in the dream. Yeah. So it happened just exactly like I saw it. But I went 500 miles from where I was supposed to go. I said, I think that they're contaminated. I'm going to put this in the desert somewhere, and I'm going to take my part and tell them where theirs is. That's fair enough.
And that's the end of it, right?
Yep.
That was the idea.
That was the idea. So anyway, I took it to the most remote spot called Sharks Bay, Western Australia. So I left one fella right there on the boat, and me and the Colombian went in with the 2 boats, and it was dark and rainy, and went over a swell. I had to go back out it, and anyhow, we got the 2 rubber boats. They were big ones, and took the stuff out of it. And one, I had sandals on. One of them tore up, and the rough was so bad until I had to have new skin put on the bottom of one foot.
Jeez.
So I still carried that stuff up and got rid of it. And then I went to go out and get the ship. I was going to sink it with a boat. Well, one of them had busted the rubber boat on the rocks, and the one that had the good engine on it, it had drifted away.
Bad day.
So I could barely see it. I'm a pretty fair swimmer, but nothing fancy. So I started swimming. And I'm swimming after that boat, and it must be drifting, the tide or the drift, just as fast as I'm swimming. Now, damn, am I ever going to catch that thing? And I'm swimming a little, and then a fin cuts around me, about 6 or 8 inches out of the water, and I put my feet up. Sharks Bay now.
I know what you're talking about.
And
yeah.
Australia, too.
Yeah.
Some good ones out there.
Not good.
So then he puts his come around again with his fin about that far out of the water.
Circle on your ass.
Yeah. And it's dark, but there's enough light I can see that. You're making a rip. And I thought, oh, God, don't let it happen now. And I pull my feet up under me, and I'm about to drown. I'm trying to not make any more move.
Right, not move and not.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And then he come up and blew. It was a dolphin. Oh. I like to scream. I swim so fast, I almost jumped over that boat when I got to it.
Oh, man, I was hoping it was like you wrestled a great white shark and beat the great white shark. I was waiting for that part. Right?
Probably would have.
Wrestled a great white.
Oh.
If you had to, you had to.
Oh,
right?
I think you got. But anyway, I went on out and got the boat and took a shower and got back in the little boat, and me and friend Joel come back ashore, and we sunk that boat. I cut a big hole down the side and reversed all the fire hoses inside of it, and it went on out 26 miles, I understand. And we sunk all the boats and cleaned it up and hid under it started raining, and then...
You always have the worst weather at these times. Buddy.
It would. It's desert there. Why does it rain that
That's what I
much?
mean.
You know?
Like,
I think you get
like
3
only
inches
you.
a year.
It fucking rains, what, 1 time a year, 2
Exactly.
times a year?
I was in it.
And this particular time,
July the 27th,
rain
it was raining.
storm or something's on fire.
My God.
There's a lot of rain around. But anyway, I went ashore, and we had the stuff buried really well, and then they came and knocked me in the head, but that's several hours later.
How cool was it when you were in Antarctica to see, near it, the icebergs?
Yeah, that was something. That was beautiful.
That
the whales
really cool, right?
coming up, blowing. That was real beautiful. And then we had some seas down there that was just monsters. I mean, it scared me. And I fished in Alaska. Those things were just monsters. They wasn't bad. But they were just like mountains of water, just almost straight up. And the boat would go up like that, and the rear end would come out, and the 2 propellers, and then it would surf down. It'd go 25 knots, and the nose and all would come under. And it'd take a while for it to come back up, and then it would blue water, and then you'd be going up the next one, over and over again. Man, I turned. I said, I'm getting out of this latitude.
This is nice to see, nice view, but I'll look at it from a distance. Right?
We had 8 hours of that. I don't know where those swells coming from Antarctica, some storm down there. It brought them, but it wasn't rough. It was smooth. But they said on the sailing ships that they would have 2 men on the wheel, and they had to put a blind behind them so it wouldn't scare them.
Wow.
It's that scary.
I bet it is. I mean, shit.
It looks like it's almost straight up and down.
What's that, Rob?
The ocean's no joke.
Yeah.
No. Imagine what's under there. We can't even get down there.
No, yeah, exactly.
Well, at least you got to experience it through all this shit. So then when they get you in Australia, take me through that.
Well, they put me in general population, and I'm all right and seem to be fine. And some days later, 4 of them came in while I'm eating supper and handcuffed me at the table, take me out and put me in something like a Brinks truck and drive me across town to the most secure prison in the southern hemisphere. And they back up I go through 13 gates.
I was just going to say, how many gates do they take it through?
13 of them. I counted them. Go 13 doors.
I figured you did.
And they look and say number 6 and click, and you'll see it, and they go through, and they'll hang it on to you. And you sit down on a wire bench, and you put your thumbs up, and they take the leg irons off, and then take that off, and oh man, and they take you naked, and they put you in that place, and it was just exactly like the Silence of the Lambs. And so I stayed back there a year, and so I got 25 years, and I testified for somebody on the boat, and he got off and went home. I said he didn't know. He didn't know. He didn't know it was cocaine on there. When it came, he couldn't swim 1,000 miles. And so the jury, after 3 trials, they were dirty. The first one, they had some guy come in, and they knew they had lost, and a juryman passed out all these papers. Your Honor, I hope you don't mind. I read this last night I got it off the internet from Mr. Parrish. Bailiffs, bring that up here. Oh, mistrial. Well, that's when they fixing to.
Yeah.
So 6 months later, they have another one, have a hung jury, and then I testify again, and he goes home. Well, they appeal my sentence to the higher court, and that glassy-eyed judge gave me life. So I said, wow. And so that's
what's that feel like when you hear life?
Like,
I mean, it's just
take a dagger and put it through your heart. You may not ever get out of there.
Yeah.
He said they have to, in Australia, they give you a minimum sentence before you can apply for parole, but hardly anybody gets it. They say come back in 5 years. You know how it is.
Yeah.
So they give me 18, which I was fortunate. And when I was about 17 years, I wrote to my neighbor, Mr. President Jimmy Carter.
I was just going to ask you that. I was going to say you were friends and neighbors with Jimmy Carter, and he wrote a letter for him.
And so he said, if appropriate, I was sure you would. I ask that you would consider for parole my friend and neighbor Roger Reaves.
Yeah, he wrote a letter for him, Rob.
Wow.
Congratulations.
It is. He's a wonderful man.
Yeah.
He's a good man. Why don't we find some more like Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, maybe if he would come back and
he's
fix shit up.
Years old.
Yeah. I know.
Bless his heart. He's not a hero.
Wishful thinking doesn't hurt nobody. You know. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's when I thought I may never get out of here. I got all that time in America and been parole in Germany and a life sentence here. I better tell some of my great grandchildren something about me. And so they had a computer in there, but it didn't have a program on it, a thing called Paintbrush. Well, I can type, but I didn't know how to turn that computer on. So I got somebody to show me, one of the guards, and I got it going, and I wrote over 1 million words in one line. Before I quit, about 3 months, I wrote everything I had to write. So when I got out of that place, they kept me there a little over a year, and then they put me in general population, let me buy a computer. And they're pretty nice in Australia. They put you in, behave yourself, you go to self-care, and you cook for yourself, either 12 or 6 men to a pod, and they give you the food, or you can order it for up to a certain amount, and you cook. I cooked for the next 16, 17 years.
So with good behavior, you can live pretty decent in there.
Well, you can live. With single cell, really big, like 15 feet long, 9 feet wide, shower and toilet and bowl, bed.
Oh, you had a shower in the cell?
Inside.
Oh,
yes,
shit.
Sir, it's
That's
just
not that bad.
a lock to your door.
Oh, wow.
So There's 6 of you in there, and then you got a lock to the front door, and you got stove, refrigerator, freezer, table, big heavy chairs. You can't fight with them.
Wow.
And if you behave yourself, that's where you live.
Yeah.
And so that's where
And that's a good incentive. They should have that here.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of going to a fucking national menu. Do you know it?
Yeah.
They went to a national menu. Remember the federal prisons
Of
used to
course I
be,
do.
you used to get vegetables and everything else. Now it's a national menu.
It's beans, a lot of beans,
Yeah,
and they're not cooked very long.
They changed it. Yeah, they changed
It's
everything.
bad. It's bad in there now. It's bad what they're doing with the blacks and the browns and the whites. It's bad. They got it. They've divided and conquered.
It's insane. You know, there's guys in there doing 25 years, and it's an African American that was just on the corner selling 4 bags of crack a day for his family. Not, you know, he wasn't shooting anybody, killing anybody. He was literally trying to feed his family. He didn't get caught with that much, but they had that bill in there with the coke versus the crack, and this 19-year-old guy, 25 years.
How many people are dying from that overdose now? 100 a day from this
fentanyl bullshit.
Is anybody going to prison for that? What's compared to that sin compared to what he did?
Yeah,
it's infinitesimal. He don't even register.
And then let's open the border and let more in.
Yeah. NAFTA. North America.
NAFTA. That was
free,
the shit.
That put all us out of business.
Yeah. That was the destroyer for sure. That damn NAFTA. Ugh. Wow. I still can't believe you. So when Jimmy Carter wrote the letter, what the judge was just like,
No, he wrote it to the Attorney General.
I mean, to the Attorney General. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it just helped. I sent it to the parole board. You know, he sent it to the parole board.
Now, when you're going through all this, and you know, you never got contacted by anybody from your past in the cartel because you're constantly going to jail. Nobody ever contacted you. No threats, no nothing like that.
Nothing whatsoever. Why would they? I mean, they don't know me anything. I'm a private trucker.
No, I understand.
And I pick up their stuff and I bring it, and I don't owe them anything. They don't owe me anything. I thought that the man that sent me down there with the snitch should have supported my family while I was in there. I would talk about him about that if I got a chance to meet him. But
it didn't work out that way.
Pardon?
It didn't work out that way.
Well, he didn't ever ask or anything. But if I would have been the man and I had a ton of cocaine, that thing, I would look for somebody's family and look after him while the man was in prison for sure. Particularly if I was the one responsible.
Right, I would call that principal, right?
Yeah, he was the one that sent the snitch down.
Yeah. Pull up tab 5. I want to pull up because if you just type in your name, it's just fucking crazy. It's just crazy.
What's that?
If you just type in Roger Reaves and you just scroll down, it's just like blaze through it. It's just it's just so much shit. You did great on Lex. It was Lex. You did great on Lex.
Oh yeah. And also the
concrete.
A lot of people like this said I was the most relaxed and that young fella Jones. Oh my, Danny Jones. He's great too.
Yeah, they're right by here.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just one after another with you. Patrick McDavid.
Oh yeah, he was. I liked him too. He was a jolly fella.
Yeah, very smart guy.
Yeah.
A lot there.
Crazy stuff, Roger. So, when do you think the series will start getting?
Oh,
where are we at with that, or what can you say about that?
It's nothing.
Nothing.
We got the guys that wrote Concrete Cowboys. They're writing it, and they hope to take it around to the streaming agents next month and see who will bid on it.
I'm sure you're going to get a lot of bids, Roger. I mean,
they want a guy. I can't even think of his name. It doesn't matter, to be the movie star for it. Blackberry. I can't even think of his name.
Let's take a wild guess.
Yeah.
First name. Who would play him? Do you think? We'll think of it. Hold on. I would say Whitey Bulger, but he's dead.
Let's see this.
So we're gonna look at that picture up there, right? They're gonna do it on your book. They're looking like you there, probably.
No, he got not a good picture of me there. More like up there on the top. But I got to get it when I was 30 years old.
You kind of actually look like what's the Key West thing that they do every year? The Ernest Hemingway. You kind of resemble Ernest Hemingway.
Well, now that's a compliment. If I could write like him, it'd be all right.
And
He's
that was
one of my heroes.
And in the upper left-hand corner right there, that was the boat.
That's a boat. And
Yeah.
here's a turboprop air command. That's 300 miles an hour, about 3,000 miles.
So when you're going back and you're taking all this stuff, right? How much money are we talking that you're making? You're cash. We talked about before we got in there that you're putting in your pocket cash wise.
About $3 million a week.
Wow.
The good life.
Wow.
Now, that plane there is a Howard 500. That's the fastest piston-driven airplane out there. That was 410 miles an hour.
Damn.
And you see the license plate number on. You like that?
I see it. DEA, I see you.
They couldn't see me.
And what'd you buy? Any cool things you bought with this money? What do you
Some of the most cool things was coins.
coins?
Yeah, I bought the most expensive coin in the world, and they put it in the on a pedestal in the Bank of Miami, a really nice old bank down there, and give me an insurance policy for it for $1 million, and it was only a coin about that big, about big as a quarter, and it called a Brasher de Bloom. It's worth $10 million now. I wish I could have held it.
Tommy, we have a friend, Tommy. He's a coin collector.
Uh-huh.
He'd be jerking off hearing about this. He's got a million gazillion coins. That's his thing, you know. That's his hobby.
For me, that's the best investment that a drug dealer could have done.
I agree with you.
You take them and put them in your pocket and
Small.
throw them in there with your quarters. Nobody pays them any attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
They can be $10 million for something the size of a quarter.
But like what else? Like cars? Like
I bought that was foolish. I didn't do it much. I bought a nice home in Hope Ranch, but I paid $189,000 and financed it, so it wasn't much. It didn't look out of line. I invested. I had 21 oil wells. I had I did hydroelectric power plant up in the Sierras. I had an option to buy all that land for a city called Moreno Valley. Did the planning and zoning on that. So some of that sort of stuff is what I did.
Because I always wonder, it's interesting to find out, like, you know, you had all this money, like some guys just blow it all.
No,
some guys get cocky, I guess, almost too. It seems
I
like
was cocky,
but
I didn't
enough
want
to
to
get
be
caught almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like flashy, I guess. But
I had only thing that flash I ever got was a Clenet automobile. Clenet had made there in Santa Barbara. That was really pretty. Looked kind of like an old Duesenberg, and it wasn't. It was
What was your favorite country you went to?
Holland.
Holland, huh? Why Holland?
I don't know. I just love the people, and my wife was from there. And when I escaped from the German prison, how well they just treated me royally. I stayed on a little farm. It was just so nice. And listen, they don't have a prison problem.
no.
They don't. It's just do your drug, do your thing, and even the people that do drugs are not the Dutch kids. They're the people that come in from other countries.
Well, again, I've said this at nausea, but Portugal made everything legal.
Absolutely,
And
they've
they're-
emptied the prisons.
Emptied them, but they did it right though.
Yeah.
If you get caught with like a lower amount, go ahead. If you get caught with say a kilo, you have to go to rehabilitation or counseling or whatever. If you don't go, say every other week, then you got to go to jail. But if you fulfill that 1 year of counseling every other week, even if you got hit with 10 kilos, as long as you go to counseling for that year, no jail time.
That's
But
fair.
it's real counseling.
Yes.
It's not, hey, Roger, how are you? Oh, yeah, you smuggled a bunch of shit. Yeah, how you feeling inside? Are you okay? It's like real counseling. Like, okay, so what kind of business are you into? You know, to try to get that dealer or addict away from it. Real counseling, real rehab worked. And it's proven. Their crime rate went down 80%.
I think that our politicians should absolutely open their eyes, wake up, and have a study on what damaging to people. What is damaging? Then do something about that.
And all the fathers and mothers that you're taking from kids over bullshit.
Should never be.
Like that guy I was telling you about that got 25 years and many others. He had 3 kids. The reason why he was on the corner with that 10 bags of crack was so he could get dinner for his kids. You're going to give him 25 years?
Yeah, but they don't care because the money keeps coming in. They keep the system rolling.
know,
They
but-
keep the system rolling.
But someone like Roger or I, you know, who know people like this, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then they have facts. You got Portugal. You got Holland. You got parts of Germany. You got Colorado, who has weed, mushrooms, DMT.
But think
No
about
issues.
Think about it.
None.
You take the father figure
I thought the mushrooms.
You
would,
take
but-
the father figure out of the household.
Yeah.
What happens to the kid? Unfortunately,
No
Grows up
discipline.
in a dad, there's no
Every time.
discipline, and the kid goes down a bad path. And guess what? Now we lock that one up, and then he has kids, and it's a revolving circle, and it never ends, and it keeps
And
the
the whole
system
thing.
going. The system keeps going.
Well, I'm going to tell you the answer to it, and nobody's going to like it. That we should. Okay, my daughter is a medical doctor, and she delivered a baby from a 10-year-old girl.
Oh.
Now then, four generations, not counting that little girl, in the visiting room, all on welfare. None of them probably can read and write very well. People are having babies that shouldn't have babies. No father, nothing, no plan. I say that a little sparrow builds her nest before she lays her eggs. Not human beings. They just put them out there for somebody to look after. 500,000 go to foster care every year. How many's in orphanages? Poor little babies just thrown away. Nobody wants them. They know they're not wanted. They're not loved. They never see it. Well, they come off to prison, they'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know anything different. It breaks your heart.
I don't know one kid that went to a foster home, because it's never just one foster
Yeah.
home. It's multiple. I know a lot that went to them, and not one that isn't emotionally
Exactly.
shot
And prison's full of it.
full of it.
And I see these women with a stroller out there in California pushing little dogs. And I think about 500,000 little children would just love to be dressed up and pushed around a little bit.
Yeah.
Where are you? I mean, it's all right for you, the dogs. I don't have anything against them, but what in the world? You're not having children? You want them? You're lonely for a child, and you're pushing a dog in a little thing? Oh, what a sad world.
Really is. Really is. When you think about it, it really is. You know?
1951, I believe it was, Hank Snow, married by the Bible, divorced by the law. Worst thing I ever saw. Just a little child or two to pay the price. And that's, how long was that? 75 years ago. So it just got worse and worse.
Now, I got to ask you the biggest question of all. How'd you meet your wife?
Oh, my goodness. That's a wonderful question. When I was a boy, we was making $3 a day cropping tobacco in Georgia. I mean, it was hard work. And it was like the grapes of wrath. They put up some posters, $20 a day to anybody who knows how to crop tobacco to go to Canada, room and board, $20 a day. Plus, you could make more suckering in the afternoon. Okay, so I can make $30. So I got my little paper suitcase, stuck my thumb outside the road.
Suitcase.
It was cardboard with a handle torn off.
Fucking
my
guy that's
clothes in
making
there.
$5 million a week. He's got a paper suitcase right now at this point.
Here I am.
It's funny, you know.
So I take off hitchhiking, and I get up there, South Carolina, and I'm going to Canada. And I've saved up about $30, so I'll have some money to get there with. And I put it in the cracks in that suitcase inside because I didn't want to lose it.
You idiot.
So anyhow, a car from back in the 30s slowed down, and he stopped and picked me up. I threw that suitcase in the back seat, and there was a colored man driving with a rakish hat, put down plaid, and he was soppy drunk. He missed the gears trying to take off, and his head kind of went down, and the semi's blowing at him. I said, "Hey, mister, let me drive." And his head
There's a semi truck right here.
wow, and the air horn blowing and him weaving. And I said, finally, let me drive. And his head just got no further. And I said, "Hey, there's a store up there. Stop and let me out. I haven't had anything to eat in a long time." So he pulled off into gravel, and I jumped out and thanked my maker that I was alive. And that spinning wheels took off of my suitcase. Oh, my goodness.
with
Now,
your $30.
my
right?
$30 and all the clothes, everything I had in the world is in that suitcase. And I run over there under a pecan tree, and there's three guys playing checkers on nail kegs. Mister, that has got my money and everything. I'll pay you to go catch him. He's going mighty fast. Don't think I'd catch him.
Roger, you end up in the weirdest places, buddy.
So anyway, I go out there to the highway, and I just sick, man. What am I going to do? I don't even have enough money to Coca-Cola. And I'm looking down, and I can see the heat waves coming off that South Carolina highway, 441. And I hear the crunching of wheels behind me. And I turn around. "Hey, buddy, you forgot your suitcase." So I went on. I went on up to Washington D.C. and I stayed there 2 or 3 days, and I met a girl from Holland, and she had quite an accent. And so we walked around, saw the Statue of Liberty and that sort of stuff. And so I went on. And I'm just a teenager, you see. I mean, so I went on up and
I bet you thought you had quite an accent too.
Oh, I bet you did. I went on across and went to Canada and got me a job. And after a few weeks, some boys from another farm said, "Come on, Roger, let's go to a carnival." So I already cleaned every day. I went in the greenhouse and got all that tobacco juice off of me. And boy, there were some stinking people in that place. They was from all over the world. It was like the Tower of Babel.
Got that fucking rice smell, dye smell.
There was some
everything,
fine.
right?
It was ripe.
He said it was ripe.
So then we went to the carnival. And we went to the Hoochie Coochie show, and oh man, I mean, we clapped.
What's the Hoochie? The strip club?
Yeah, well, it was in a carnival. It was clean, but the girls, and I'd never seen anything like it. All that glittering. So they were not naked, but it was something from back in 1961. So I went on down the road, and there was a guy with a big beard, probably weighed 350 pounds, and he had a little circus wagon there with a bear in it, a little old bear. And five brand new $100 bills. Anybody to wrestle my bear and get all 4 feet off the ground to throw him.
As in a real bear?
A real bear.
Oh, jeez, you get life for that now.
So anyhow, he had big pads on his paws and a muzzle. And what's your name, young man? And here the crowd's flocking in now. They got a sucker.
Oh boy.
So how much you weigh, young man? 145 pounds. 145-pound man against 600-pound beast. And he grabbed me by the seat of the pan and just threw me in that cage with that bear. Shut the door. And the old bear started to get up, and boy, I ran into him hard as I could, and he slammed into the side of the cage. It made a lot of noise. That thing was made to make noise. And I wasn't holding nothing. It's like an old greyhound turtle pulled his head in. I just got holding a bunch of fur. And he hit me at just about my knees with a lightning swipe like he's trained to do, and it just laid me out horizontally. And I hit that floor, and it was loose. Blam, blam, blam.
Now,
and the crowd
Roger,
said...
That would have been the one I would have been trying to escape from real quick.
What age were you?
19. So before I could get up, it was hit the other way. And bam! And I said, woo, I got to do something. So I grabbed the top of that cage, and I kicked that bear and run it, and that bear went crazy. That was that guy's pet. I didn't realize I was supposed to fight. Oh. He threw me in the side of that cage so hard until I thought the breath never was going to come out of me. He just tore the clothes off of me with those paws. And the guy came in and put the snap on him. He turned on him. And the chain was hung up on something. It pulled a little of that tent down. And the people stomping themselves, getting out there. And he's sick of me, fools. Fuck. And I asked for my $10. He told me to go to hell. So I couldn't work. They took me back to the bunkhouse, and I was traumatized. I fell down when they had to tote me in and put me in a bunk.
I guess so.
So I was out 2 days, and so Sunday I couldn't work, and I got a ride down to Turkey Point on Lake Erie. And I hobbled out on the pier, and there's 3 girls on a towel out there. Pretty one. They was one heart stopper. So when I came back by, I just graduated from high school, and I had a azure blue sapphire ring. And she said, is that a university ring? And I said, no, it's a high school ring. Oh, we don't get high school rings. We only get university. And I said, you're from Holland, aren't you? What? Like you're tobacco harvester up here, and you tell me how you know about Dutch accents. So she slid over on the towel, and time stopped.
And
that's 60 years ago. Over 60 years ago now.
Wow. Amazing, man.
So we've been married right 60 years, and she stood by me all these times, raised the children.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And congratulations to your daughter for being able to deliver a child at that young. You know, the mother was, 10 years old?
10 years old.
And she was able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Whew.
And congratulations for all the shit you survived. Holy God. I'm still sitting here. I can't believe what you've went over. And
we just went over like the tip of the iceberg.
It's like Evil Knievel meets Indiana Jones meets
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, and The Incredible Hulk. I mean, I don't know. That's
He fucking ends up in like the craziest places.
Yeah.
You end up in the craziest places ever since 19. You're 19
What-
and you
what
end up
were-
with a bull with a bear.
What was your mom and dad like? I mean, what were they like?
Oh, just normal people. My mother was a beautiful woman, and she worked real hard. She was like a child of the Depression, sharecropper type. And my father was gifted. He could have been a druggist if he wanted to. He didn't, but he inherited the farm and became an alcoholic. And he was a lovely man, wonderful. I just love him. If I talk about him, I'll cry. But I'd kick his ass too. 7 little babies and him drunk, in the farm. And but I raised my grandma. Slept with her until I was 14 years old in big feather bed.
Oh,
And she died. Yes. So
sorry to hear that.
That's all right. She had to die sometime. We all
I
are.
know, but still,
But somebody sent me a
if
song.
you got a fucking heart, you say sorry.
Oh,
but
I
somebody
do.
close to
I thank
somebody
you.
else.
Thank you. I do. It'd like to kill me. I'd have traded places with her in that casket if I could have. Yeah, sure, I would have.
Yeah, me and my mom too. When my mom died, I would have traded. I would anything. That kills you.
Yeah, it does. So anyway, he was raised in a house with a mama and grandma and a daddy and 7 little brothers and sisters. So it was all right. Nobody. My grandpa killed a man in the courtroom, shot him to death during the trial.
Wow.
What was he trial for?
Oh, I think my grandpa was a school teacher. He's a small man, and I don't know exactly what happened, but young men would go to school when they're 21, 22 years old. They'd go to school 2 or 3 months in the winter, and I don't know what it was over wood pile or something. He knocked that young man in the head with a piece of stove wood.
Whoops.
Well, they might have been fighting. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they took him to trial, and I took my grandpa there to court, and the other fellow got up and told his side up. My grandpa got up to tell his, and the guy named Woods put his finger and said, "You're a goddamn liar." Pow, pow. 2 shots right to him. I still got the old pistol. Webley 38, and you can see in the door where they dug the 2 slugs out, and my grandma was coming through that door at that minute.
Oh my God.
So it has been some in the family. Maybe it passes on to generations.
It certainly sounds like it, Mr. Reaves. I don't know, man. 50 episodes? Shit, this is like a 10-season fucking show here. I mean, to get through all this.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell you about the snakes either.
Well, I got to get you back here.
Getting 20-foot pythons and filling them up with hashish.
Tell me about the snakes. Tell me about the snakes.
You're going to have to come. I'm going to come back for that.
Yeah.
All right. That's the deal. Pull up Roger's book. You got to get this book. Awesome book. Audio. I love the audio, but get the book. Get the book and the audio.
All right.
Easy to get on Amazon. Paperback, $30. Kindle, $9.99. It's a thriller, and it's going to be a series sooner or later. Anything else, Roger?
The guy's name's Egerton is what they want to see if he'll play it.
Egerton.
Egerton.
You know,
He did Blackberry. He's in prison, and he goes into a criminally insane to try to get some criminally insane to tell about the women he's killed. I just saw the pilot for it. There he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
So we don't know for sure, but that's who they want.
Yeah, he's in the running. Yep, cool. Well, you're back with your wife, back with the family, through it all. You got a good heart, really good heart, hiking 11, 12 miles.
Well, you better come on out and it's nice and cool there.
Sauna, treadmill, workout, ice float tank. I can do all that.
Oh my!
I started on the ice thing. Do you ever try that?
What?
They call it it's a float tank. So you get it down. There's another word for it, but it's a float tank. So you get it down to 3 degrees, then 0 degrees, then -3. And right after the sauna, when you're hot as hell, you try to jump in it and you build yourself up. Like first you do like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and it's really good for blood flow, clear your arteries. It's really, really good for you. It's fucking cold, but
Yeah,
it's really, really good for
I know a sauna and jumping in the cold water, but I've never done that.
Yeah.
I hear they got something now that you put some kind of on your head and you float, and I get kind of disoriented. That's how out of the body experiences that people are doing it that way.
Or just take DMT. That's already in your brain anyway.
I have them. So I tell about that sometimes.
You've taken DMT before?
No, but I have out-of-the-body experiences, and I see things.
Oh, boy, I definitely got to have you back. I'm into all this crazy shit.
Yeah,
You see UFOs and fucking aliens all over the place.
No.
I mean, I'm saying on the desk.
Uh-huh. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, my, yes. Wonder what they look like.
Who knows? Something.
Yeah.
They're there. There's no doubt about it.
Of course.
To me.
And do they just come and go, like appear and disappear, or do they come from somewhere? I think they just, like you think it in there.
I think, you know, I read a lot and had a Elon Musk partner in, and you know, he when he was here, they got the CERN thing to go at the speed of light.
Uh-huh.
It happened here when the final beta test, and he jumped out the door like he just stole something. You know, when he got the call.
Who was that?
Robert Beto.
Okay.
So they can go at the speed of light, but the problem
must be way faster than that. Must be as fast as thought.
Yeah, I'm sure. And the problem is that the matter. So when they're going that fast, I'm sure, as you know, as you know, an expert airplane pilot, you know, when you're going that fast, if you would spit at the spaceship, you would blow it into pieces going that fast. So there's nothing on Earth that can withstand that kind of speed and then impact from the matter. You have to go through.
It's from somewhere else, of course.
Well, Elon's making his own molecule because there's nothing on the charts right now. Maybe he's a fucking alien, really.
Mm-hmm.
But he's making his own molecule as we speak that will be able to sustain the impact from, you know, particles in space, anything at all, to be able to get to Mars in 7 days, because that's their goal. Beto and him are trying to get to Mars in 7 days. I
will salute Elon Musk.
Absolutely.
I think he's the greatest genius that we've had in my lifetime, for sure.
Me and you both. Yeah. And you know how that satellite went up in Ukraine from Elon?
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess where his partner Robert Beto's from? Ukraine.
All right.
And guess who's over in Ukraine? Beto. I'm trying to get him back on if he makes it.
Now, I think you might believe the Bible, but if you want to read about Philip, was one of the disciples, and he's walking across the desert down there somewhere, and I know where it is, about 100 miles down south of where he was going, but and a chariot comes by with with a eunuch that's, I believe, Eunice, one of the queens, and he's reading from the book of Isaiah, probably Isaiah 53, and the Holy Spirit told Philip to go close to that chariot and trot along, and so he did, and so he asked the eunuch, "Do you know what you're reading?" He said, "How could anybody know it unless somebody told him?" So he got in the carriage and he went to explaining about what Isaiah meant, that it had been fulfilled now. And so the eunuch says, "There's water. What does hinder me from being baptized?" And they stopped the chariot and they went down into the water, and he baptized him, and immediately they were where they were going. They were disintegrated and put 100 miles away instantly, it says. So that was 2,000 years ago, and we keep hearing stuff, all kind of things.
I mean, part of me thinks that I think right now, you know, all we know, in my opinion, all we know for sure, that Z galaxy, that, I don't know if you ever read about it, but I mean, that looks 100% like our galaxy.
Yeah.
Where the one planet is exactly like Earth. I think they're coming down, and it's odd because whenever there's like a war or a fight, they seem to spark up more and more and more. So I don't know. Maybe they're just coming to see if we've destroyed ourselves yet. You know, it almost is like, okay, the dinosaurs were here. That didn't work out. Let's whack them out. You know, another ice age, whack them out. All right, we got some humans with some brains. Whack them out. You know, robots are coming next. Who the fuck knows?
Who was that wrote Chariots of the Gods? Wrote those 5 books.
I know you're talking about.
But anyway, he says down in the bottom of Peru, and he shows pictures of stones that look like they have cut out races, like they fit perfectly. And there's extreme amount of radiation around there from where it looked like they had a nuclear explosion. He figures about 3 million years ago. Now, I'd like to go down there and just verify that.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were talking earlier about radiation, I wonder if that's true. Because I mean, do we even test how much radiation is around?
Well, yes, you can see it. I had a Geiger counter, and it just tells you, and it's like it's about 12 or something, and you put it under something, and of course you put it behind lead, and it just goes away. So I know that they have lead cloth and all kind of things that we could put in the ceilings and sheetrock and everything else that would stop a lot of it coming in if they prove that that's what it is. But I read about some years ago we had frogs. A lot of frogs died in America, and they died from radiation. No question about it. There was one person, one girl, a scientist, and she just went and put a piece of lead sheet over some frog eggs, and every one of those perfect little frogs came out. And the ones over here had legs coming out the ears.
I'll tell you what, there's that one frog, if you eat the venom, well, you go to a whole different planet there, buddy.
I don't want to do that.
No, I don't want that either.
I kind of like my mind the way it works.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind doing DMT and going into that different dimension thing and seeing, reality that you can't see, maybe, possibly. But I don't want none of that crazy stuff.
This world's too beautiful for me.
You're right. I want something that nobody's ever died from, and that I'm going to come out normal. You know what I mean? I don't want anything where I come out all weird. So let's get that book, Smuggler. You got to come back and maybe bring your wife next time. Bring her in. We'll do all
right.
Both you guys.
You got to stay a while. She just got wore out traveling.
Next time.
All right, real good.
Thank you for all your time. Thank you for coming in, Roger. It was a blast.
Awesome stuff.
And
good stuff.
And he's never been this quiet ever. So
it's amazing. Yeah,
he's usually very.
I'm literally taking it in, and I don't even know what to say. Like I was trying to think of questions, and I'm just like, man, you are a fucking just legend. Like stories like this don't come.
This
around
is legend
often.
shit. No, this is legend shit.
This stuff comes around not really often, right? And you hear the stuff that you were in, and it is a literal movie. Like when you watch a movie, you're like, oh man, that'll never happen. You can't survive that. Like he can't jump out the window and survive, and he can't do this, and like he's sitting there, like, and he did it over and over and over again. It's like the video game that you're like, man, my guy just died. He fell off the cliff, and he'd be like, yep, I'll land on my feet, and there he goes.
Well, he's the one in the video game you're trying to get because the guy never dies.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, you're building up points. You're buying. You're taking mom and dad's credit card to buy coins and
character.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, you're stealing mom's credit card to quick get 20 points to buy.
I was blessed. I know that. I've been fortunate not to get hurt.
And the craziest part of it all, he's a nice, good-hearted guy.
Yeah,
After
I'm not
all
a bad
that,
person at all.
No,
I'm not a criminal. I know that. I break the law, but don't we all?
I think there's a lot of different type of criminals.
Oh,
I think there's levels of criminals, regardless of how people want to judge.
A lot of them wear suits.
Yeah. I bet nothing ever happens to them.
Exactly. I mean, I don't lie to people. I don't cheat. Not even for a penny.
Yeah.
So they get their half or a little more. It don't matter.
Yeah. But it's just absolutely tons of respect that you've been through all that and come out with a kind heart, nice man. And as I've told you from the day I talked to you, your wife, you're a lucky man. Forget all that money and everything else. Nobody cares.
Absolutely.
That your wife's more important. Just in my opinion, that woman to stick by you like that. Forget the money. Forget the series. She'll be there forever for you. When all this goes away and whatever.
Yep.
You know?
We'll both be 80 years old here in a few months, and
Beautiful
she's writing her memoirs. You know what she calls it?
The headache I had to deal with for 80 years.
No. She's very strict on it. The convict's wife.
Oh, shit.
I think it's going to be maybe better than mine. The heartache
that
she went through and what she did with the children and how that she was treated and the rings torn off her finger and tearing up the house and chopping it up with axes like right in front of her.
Well, think how many women could relate to that. You know?
Yeah.
Even if somebody just got raided and got 2 or 3 years, it doesn't matter. Still that
get
bullshit
the same
experience.
thing.
Yeah. So I think it will do very, very well. And
so
a woman
too.
writing it, you know, and your wife, you of all people, you know, that gives a little bump to it, you know. But I just look at that and, you know, just from having a little crazy shit in my past, I mean, that's worth more than anything to me. I'm sure
really
to you too.
I know it too.
And congratulations. I can't.
Thank you.
And I got 2 great kids too through it all.
Oh, good.
Or 3. How many?
3.
3. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Apologize.
No, that's all right. None of them left out. I might have left one or two of them out myself.
Well, congratulations
Thank
on
you very
everything,
much.
and I hope you come back.
Thank
I
you.
really
It's been
enjoyed
a
it.
real pleasure.
Pleasure.